Sagittulae, Random Verses by E. W. Bowling, Rector of Houghton Conquest, and late Fellow of St. John's College, Cambridge. Si dulce est desipere in loco, ignas nostro, bland lector ioco. London, Longmans, Green and Company, Paternoster Row. Cambridge, W. Metcalfe and Son, Trinity Street. 1885. Preface. A very few of the following pieces appeared in Punch during the consulship of Plancus. The rest have been written by me during the past 25 years, under the signature of Arculus. 4. The Eagle. The magazine of St. John's College, Cambridge. I hope their reappearance will be welcome to a few of my old college friends. The general reader will probably think that some apology is due to him from me for publishing verses of so crude and trivial a character. I can only say that the smallest of bows should sometimes be unstrung, and that if my little arrows are flimsy and light they will, I trust, wound no one. E. W. Bowling. The Battle of the Pons Trium Trojanorum. A lay sung in the temple of Minerva Jurtenensis. Note. On Thursday, February 24, 1881, 3 graces were submitted to the Senate of the University of Cambridge, confirming the report of the syndicate appointed June 3, 1880, to consider 4 memorials relating to the higher education of women. The first 2 graces were passed by majorities of 398 and 258 against 32 and 26 respectively. The third was unopposed. The allusions in the following lay will probably be understood only by those who reside in Cambridge, but it may be stated that Professor Kennedy, Professor Fawcett, and Sir C. Dilke gave their votes and influence in favor of the graces, while Dr. Gillamid, Mr. Wass, Mr. Potts, Professor Lumby, Dr. Perrown, Mr. Horn and Mr. Hamblin Smith voted against the graces. I. Emilia Jurtenensis, by the 9 Muses swore that the great house of Girton should suffer wrong no more. By the Muses 9 she swore it, and named a voting day, and bade her learned ladies write, and summoned to the impending fight their masters grave and gay. 2. East and west and south and north the learned ladies wrote, and town and gown and country have read the martial note. Shame on the Cambridge senator who dares to lag behind, when light blue ladies call him to join the march of mind. 3. But by the yellow Camus was tumult and affright, straightway to Pater Varius the Trojans take their flight. O Varius, Father Varius, to whom the Trojans pray, the ladies are upon us. We look to thee this day. 4. There be 30 chosen fellows, the wisest of the land, who hard by Pater Varius to bar all progress stand, evening and morn the 30 on the 3 graces sit, traced from the left by fingers deft in the great press of Pitt. And with one voice the 30 have uttered their decree, go forth, great Varius, oppose the graces 3. The enemy already are quartered in the town, and if they once the tripos gain, what hope to save the gown? 6. To his, 1, the town of Offa, their classes first they led, then onward to Dretonia and Ninamantium sped, and now a mighty army of young and beardless girls beneath our very citadel a banner proud unfurls. 7. Then outspake Father Varius, no craven heart was his, to poll men and to wranglers death comes but once, Wisconsin, and how can man live better, or die with more renown, than fighting against progress for the rights of cap and gown? 8. I, with 2 more to help me, will face yon graces 3, will guard the holy tripod, and the M.A. degree. We know that by obstruction 3 may 1,000 foil. Now who will stand on either hand to guard our Trojan soil? 9. Then Parvumariensis, of bearded Jove the priest, spake out of Trojan warriors I am, perhaps, the least, yet will I stand at thy right hand, cried Podius. I likewise at thy left side will stem the tide of myriad flashing eyes. X. Meanwhile the ladies' army, right glorious to behold, came clad in silks and satins bright, with sealskins and with furs bedight, and gems and rings of gold. 400 warriors shouted place it with fiendish glee, as that fair host with fairy feet, and smiles unutterably sweet, came tripping each towards her seat, where stood the dauntless 3. 11. The 3 stood calm and silent, and frowned upon their foes, as a great shout of laughter from the 400 rose, and forth 3 chiefs came spurring before their ladies gay. They faced the 3, they scowled and scoffed, their gowns they donned, their caps they doffed, then sped them to the fray. 12. Generales Postmagister, lord of the letter bags, and Dilcius Radicalis, who ne'er in combat lags, and Graecus Professorius, beloved of fair Sabrine, from the grey elms, beneath whose shade a hospitable banquet laid, had heroes e'en of cowards made. Brought placets 39. 13. Stout Varius hurled non-placet at Postmagister's head, at the mere glance of Podius fierce Radicalis fled, and Parvus Mariensis, so they who heard him tell, uttered but one false quantity, and Professorius fell. 14. But fiercer still and fiercer fresh foemen sought the fray, and fainter still and fainter stout Varius stood at bay. Oh, that this too solid flesh would dissolve, he sighed, yet still he stood undaunted, and still the foe defied. 15. Then Polyoninimensis, a student sweetly fair, famed for her smiles and dimples, blue eyes and golden hair, of Cupid's arrows seized a pair, one in each eye she took, Cupid's best bow with all her might she pulled, each arrow winged its flight, and straightway reason, sense, and sight stout Varius forsook. 16. He falls, the placets thundered, and filled the yawning gap. In vain his trusty comrades avenge their chief's mishap. His last great fight is done. They charge. Brave Podius prostrate lies, no rider helps him to arise. They charge. Fierce Mariensis dies. The bridge is won. 17. In vain did Ben Cornutus flash lightnings from his beard. In vain Fabrorum Maximus his massive form upreared, and Lumbius Revizorius, diviner potent he, and Perinatus robed in state, and fine old Fossilis sedate, all vainly stemmed the tide of fate, triumphed the Graces 3. 18. But when in future ages women have won their rights, and sweet girl undergraduates read through the lamplit nights, when some, now unborn, Polia her head with science crams, when the girls make Greek iambics, and the boys blackcurrant jams. 19. When the goodman's shuttle merrily goes flashing through the loom, and the good wife reads her Plato in her own sequestered room, with weeping and with laughter still shall the tale be told, how pretty Polia won the bridge in the brave days of old. 1881. 1. The ancient name of Hitchin. Julia. An ode. Note. The following imitation of Cooper's Boadicea was written in 1858. Most of its predictions have since been fulfilled. When the Cambridge flower show ended, and the flowers and guests were gone, and the evening shades descended, roamed a man forlorn alone. Sage beside the river slow sat the Don renowned for lore, and in accents soft and low to the elms his love did pour. Julia, if my learned eyes gaze upon thy matchless face, 'tis because I feel there lies magic in thy lovely grace. I will marry. Write that threat in the ink I daily waste. Marry, pay each college debt, college ale no more will taste. Granta, far and wide renowned, frowns upon the married state. Soon her pride shall kiss the ground. Hark! Reform is at the gate. Other fellows shall arise, proud to own a husband's name, proud to own their infants' cries. Harmony the path to fame. Then the progeny that springs from our ancient college walls, armed with trumpets, noisy things, shall astound us by their squalls. Sounds no wrangler yet has heard, our posterity shall fright. E'en the eagle, one valiant bird, shall betake itself to flight. Such the thoughts that through him whirled pensively reclining there, smiling, as his fingers curled his divinely glowing hair. He, with all a lover's pride, felt his manly bosom glow, sought the bull, besought the bride. All she said was, "No, sir, no." Julia, pitiless as cold, lo the vengeance due from heaven. College living he doth hold, single bliss to thee is given. 1. The Eagle is the well-known magazine of St. John's College, Cambridge. Clio Fatidica. No. The following lines were written to celebrate the bump by which the Lady Margaret First boat became head of the river. In 1871. On the next evening Professor Selwyn delighted the eyes and the hearts of all Johnians by sculling down the river to salute the head of the river. The title of Cycrolouts, *, needs no explanation to those who know the Selwyns, who are no less renowned as swimmers than as oarsmen. Tell me, Muse, what color floateth round the river's ancient head? Is it white and black, or white and blue? Is it scarlet, blue, or red? Thus I prayed, and Cleo answered, Why, I thought the whole world knew that the red of Margarita had deposed the flag of blue. Babes unborn shall sing in rapture how, desiring close, one, affinity, Goldie, rowing nearly 50, overlapped, and bumped First Trinity. I myself was at the Willows, and beheld the victory won, saw the victor's final effort, and the deed of daring done. I myself took off my bonnet, and forgetful of my years, patting Goldie on the shoulder, gave him 3 times thrice 3 cheers. Ne'er, oh! Ne'er shall be forgotten the excitement of that night. Aged dons, deemed stony-hearted, wept with rapture at the sight. Ian, the master of a college, as he saw them overlap, shouted well rowed, Lady Margaret, and took off his college cap, and a doctor of divinity, in his academic garb, sang a solemn song of triumph, as he lashed his gallant barb. Strong men swooned, and small boys whistled. Sympathetic hounds did yell, lovely maidens smiled their sweetest on the men who'd rowed so well. Goldie, Hibbert, Lang, and Bouncy, Sawyer, Burnside, Harris, Brooke, and the pride of knighthood, Bayard, who the right course ne'er forsook, but the sight which most rejoiced me was the well-known form aquatic of a scholar famed for boating and for witticism's attic. Proud, I ween, was Lady Margaret her professor there to view, as with words of wit and wisdom he regaled the conquering crew. Proud, I ween, were Cam and Granta, as they saw once more afloat their Etonian Cycrolouts, in his funny little boat. Much, I ween, their watery spirits did within their hearts rejoice, as they listened to the music of that deep and mellow voice. Ah, 'tis well to sing of boating, when before my swimming eyes baleful visions of the future, woes unutterable rise. All our palmy days are over, for the fairer, feeblest sex has determined every college in succession to annex, and before another decade has elapsed, our eyes shall see college tutors wearing thimbles o'er convivial cups of tea. For golden-haired girl graduates, with dowagers for dons, shall tyrannize in Trinity, and domineer in John's. Then, instead of May-term races in the science grand of rowing, there'll be constant competition in the subtle art of sewing. Soon the modern undergraduate, with a feather in her hat, shall parade the streets of Cambridge, followed by her faithful cat. From Parker's Peace informers shall be banished bat and wicket, for crochet work and knitting shall supplant the game of cricket, save whene'er a match at croquet once a term is played at Girton by the members of the college, and the moralists of Merton. Then no tandems shall be driven, and no more athletic sports, save fancied balls and dances, shall appear in field reports, and instead of pots and pewters to promote the art of walking, we shall have a silver medal for proficiency in talking. Wranglers fair shall daily wrangle, who no mathematics can, lady preachers fill the pulpit, lady critics wield the pen. O ye gallant, gallant heroes who the river's head have won, little know ye what an era of confusion hath begun. I myself shall flee from Cambridge, sick at heart, and sorely vexed, ere I see my university disestablished and unsexed. Thus she spake, and I endeavored to console the weeping muse. Dry your tears, beloved Cleo, drive away this fit of blues. Cease your soul with gloomy fancies and forebodings to perplex. You are doing gross injustice to the merits of your sex. Know you not that things are changing, that the earth regains her youth, since philosophers have brought to light the one primeval truth? Long have all things been misgoverned by the foolish race of men, who've monopolized sword, scepter, mitre, ermine, spade, and pen. All the failures, all the follies, that the weary world bewails, have arisen, trust me, simply from the government of males. But a brighter age is dawning. In the circling of the years lordly woman sees before her new ambitions, new careers. For the world's regeneration instantaneously began, when philosophers discovered the inferior claims of man. With new honors alma mater shall eternally be crowned, when the ladies march in triumph, and her learned seat surround. Then a nobler race of students, and of athletes shall arise, students fair who thirst for knowledge, athletes true who pots despise. It is well for thee, sweet Cleo, at their harmless tastes to sneer, at their love of cats and croquet, their antipathy to beer. But as soon as every college has surrendered to the fair, Life up here will be perfection, we shall breathe ambrosial air, for the problem of past ages will be solved, and we shall find the superior powers of woman, both in body and in mind. She shall teach us how to study, how to ride, and run, and row, how to box and play at cricket, how the heavy weight to throw, how to shoot the trembling pigeon, how the wily rat to slay, how at football and at rackets, how at whist and chess to play, how to drive the rapid tandem, how to jump, and how to walk, for young women, trust me, Cleo, can do something more than talk, how to climb the Alps in summer, how in winter time to skate, how to hold the deadly rifle, how a yacht to navigate, how to make the winning hazard with an effort sure and strong, how to play the maddening comet, how to sing a comic song, how to utilize professors, how to purify the cam, how to brew a sherry cobbler, and to make red currant jam. All the arts which now we practice in a desultory way shall be taught us to perfection, when we own the lady's sway. Thus I spake, and strove by speaking to assuage sweet Cleo's fears, but she shook her head in sorrow, and departed drowned in tears. 1874. 1. Mr. J. B. Close, a well-known oarsman, stroke of the First Trinity first boat. Asterisk, transcriber's note, the word psychrolouts appears in the original book in Greek. It has been transliterated from the Greek letters psi, upsilon, chi, rho, omicron, lambda, omicron, upsilon, tau, eta, and sigma. Athletes and aesthesis. An idol of the cam. It was an undergraduate, his years were scarce 19. Discretion's years and wisdom's teeth he plainly ne'er had seen, for his step was light and jaunty, and around him wide and far he puffed the fragrant odors of a casual cigar. It was a sweet girl graduate, her years were 32, her brow was intellectual, her whole appearance blue, her dress was medieval, and, as if by way of charm, 6 volumes strapped together she was bearing 'neath her arm. My beautiful aesthesis, the young man rashly cried, I am the young athletes of Trinity the pride. I have large estates in Ireland, which ere long will pay me rent. I have rooms in Piccadilly, and a farm, unlet, in Kent. My achievements thou hast heard of, how I chalk the wily cue, pull an oar, and wield the willow, and have won my double blue, how I ride, and play lawn tennis, how I make a claret cup, own the sweetest of bull terriers, and a grand St. Bernard pup. But believe me, since I've seen thee, all these pleasures are a bore. Life has now one only object fit to love and to adore. Long in silence have I worshipped, long in secret have I sighed. Tell me, beautiful aesthesis, wilt thou be my blooming bride? Sir student, quoth the maiden, you are really quite intense, and I ever of this honor shall retain the highest sense. But forgive me, if I venture, faintly blushing thus she spoke, is not true love inconsistent with tobacco's mundane smoke? Perish all that comes between us, cried Athletes, as he threw his weed full 50 paces in the stream of Camus blue. The burning weed encountered the cold river with the hiss which ensues when fire and water, wranglers old, are forced to kiss. Sir student, much I thank thee, said the lady, thou hast shown the fragrance of a lily, or of petals freshly blown. But before to thee I listen there are questions not a few which demand from thee an answer satisfactory and true. Fire away, exclaimed Athletes, I will do the best I can. But remember, gentle maiden, that I'm not a reading man. So your humble servant begs you, put your questions pretty plain, for my tutors all assure me I'm not overstocked with brain. Sir student, cried the lady, and her glance was stern and high, hast thou felt the soft vibration of a summer sunset sky? Art thou soulful? Art thou tuneful? Canst thou weep o'er nature's woes? Art thou redolent of Ruskin? Dost thou love a yellow rose? Hast thou bathed in emanations from the canvas of Burne-Jones? As thou gazest at a whistler, doth it whistle wistful tones? Art thou sadly sympathetic with a symphony in blue? Tell me, gentle student, art thou really quite tutu? 'Pon my word, replied the student, this is coming it too strong. I can sketch a bit at lecture, and can sing a comic song, but my head with all these subjects 'tis impossible to cram. So, my beautiful aesthesis, you must take me as I am. Wilt thou come into my parlor, sweetly blushing asked the maid, to my little bower in Girton, where a table shall be laid? Pen and paper I will bring thee, and whatever thou shalt ask, that is lawful, shall be granted for performance of thy task. Lightly leapt the young athletes from his seat beside the cam. This is tempting me, by Jingo, to submit to an exam. So it's time, my learned lady, you and I should say goodbye. And he stood with indignation and wild terror in his eye. They parted, and athletes had not left her very far, ere again he puffed the odors of a casual cigar. But he oftentimes lamented, as to manhood's years he grew, what a pity such a stunner was so spoilt by being blue. And aesthesis, as she watched him with his swinging manly stride, the double blue athletes, of Trinity the pride, found it difficult entirely to eradicate love's dart, as she listened to thy lecture, Slade professor of fine art. And Ruskin, and the warblings of Whistler and Burne-Jones, and symphonies and colors, and sunset's silent tones, move her not as once they moved her, for she weeps in sorrow sore. Oh, had I loved athletes less, or he loved culture more. 1882. A vision. As hard at work I trimmed the midnight lamp, I filling of mine head with classic lore, mine hands firm clasped upon my temples damp, methought I heard a tapping at the door. Come in, I cried, with most unearthly roar, fearing a horrid dun or don to see, or Tompkins, that unmitigated bore, whom I love not, but who, alas, loves me, and cometh oft unbid and drinketh of my tea. Come in, I roared, when suddenly there rose a magic form before my dazzled eyes. Or do I wake, I asked myself, or doze? Or hath an angel come in mortal guise? So wondered I, but nothing mote surmise. Only I gazed upon that lovely face, in reverence sibilant with mute surprise. Sure never yet was seen such wondrous grace, since Adam first began to run his earthly race. Her hands were folded on her bosom meek, her sweet blue eyes were lifted toward the sky, her lips were parted, yet she did not speak, only at times she sighed, or seemed to sigh. In all her havure was there not of shy, yet well I wist no son of earth would dare to look with love upon that lofty eye, for in her beauty there was somewhat rare, a something that repelled an ordinary stare. Then did she straight a snowy cloth disclose of samite, which she placed upon a chair. Then, smiling like a freshly budding rose, she gazed upon me with a witching air, as mote a cynic anchorite ensnare. Eftsoons, as though her thoughts she could not smother, she hasted thus her mission to declare, Please, these is your clean things I brought instead of brother, and if you'll pay the bill you'll much oblige my mother. 1860. A May-term memory. She wore a sweet pink bonnet, the sweetest ever known, and as I gazed upon it, my heart was not my own. For, I know not why or wherefore, a pink bonnet put on well, though few other things I care for, acts upon me like a spell. 'Twas at the May-term races that first I met her eye, amid a thousand graces no form with hers could vie. On Grassie's sward enamelled she reigned fair beauty's queen, and every heart entrammelled with the charms of sweet 18. Once more I saw that bonnet, 'twas on the King's parade, once more I gazed upon it, and silent homage paid. She knew not I was gazing, she passed unheeding by, while I, in trance amazing, stood staring at the sky. The May-term now is over, that bonnet has gone down, and I'm myself a rover, far from my cap and gown. But I dread the long vacation, and its work by night and day, after all the dissipation energetic of the May. For X and Y will vanish, when that bonnet I recall, and a vision fair will banish Newton, Euclid, and Snowball. And a gleam of tresses golden, and of eyes divinely blue, will interfere with Holden, and my verse and prose imbue. These sweet girl graduate beauties, with their bonnets and their roses, will mar ere long the duties which grant a wise imposes. Who, when such eyes are shining, can quell his heart's sensations, or turn without repining to square root and equations? And when conspicuous my name by absence shall appear, when I have lost all hopes of fame, which once I held so dear, when plucked I seek a vain relief in plaintive dirge or sonnet, thou wilt have caused that bitter grief, thou beautiful pink bonnet. 1866. The May-term. Mil venit varius florum die nexa coronis, scena iosi morum liberioris habet. Ov. Fast. 4. 945, 946. I wish that the May-term were over, that its wearisome pleasures were o'er, and I were reclining in clover on the downs by a wave-beaten shore, for fathers and mothers by dozens, and sisters, a host without end, are bringing up numberless cousins, who have each a particular friend. I'm not yet confirmed in misogyny, they are all very well in their way, but my heart is as hard as mahogany, when I think of the ladies in May. I shudder at each railway whistle, like a very much victimized lamb, for I know that the carriages bristle with ladies invading the cam. Last week, as in due preparation for reading I sported my door, with surprise and no small indignation, I picked up this note on the floor. Dearie, we are coming to see you, so get us some lunch if you can. We shall take you to Grassy, as J.U., your affectionate friend, Mary Ann. Affectionate friend. I'm disgusted with proofs of affection like these. I'm growing old, tawny and crusted, though my nature is easy to please. An Englishman's home is his castle, so I think that my friend Mary Ann should respect, though she deem him her vassal, the rooms of a reading young man. In the days of our fathers how pleasant the May term up here must have been! No chignons distracting were present, and scarcely a bonnet was seen. As the boats paddled round Grassy Corner no ladies examined the cruise, or exclaimed with the voice of the scorner, Look, how Mr. Archelaus screws! But now there are ladies in college, there are ladies in chapels and halls. No doubt 'tis a pure love of knowledge that brings them within our old walls, for they talk about Goldie's beginning, know the meaning of finish and scratch, and will bet even gloves on our winning the boat race, athletics, or match. There's nothing but music and dancing, bands playing on each college green, and bright eyes are merrily glancing where nothing but books should be seen. They tell of a grave dean a fable, that reproving an idle young man he faltered, for on his own table he detected in horror a fan. Through libraries, kitchens, museums, these Prussian-like Amazons rush, over manuscripts, joints, mausoleums, with equal intensity gush. Then making their due requisition, from the lions awhile they refrain, and repose in the perfect fruition of ices, cold fowl, and champagne. Mr. Editor, answer my question, when, oh when, shall this tyranny cease? Shall the process of mental digestion ne'er find from the enemy peace? Above all, if my name you should guess, sir, keep it quite to yourself, if you can, for I dread, more than words can express, sir, my affectionate friend Mary Ann. 1871. A tragedy of the 19th century. Et potes es nigrum vitio prefigerat delta. Persius. It was a young examiner, scarce 30 were his years, his name our university loves, honors, and reveres. He pondered o'er some papers, and a tear stood in his eye. He split his quill upon the desk, and raised a bitter cry. Oh, why has fortune struck me down with this unearthly blow? Why doomed me to examine in my loved one's little go? Oh, love and duty, sisters twain, in diverse ways ye pull. I dare not pass, I scarce can pluck, my cup of woe is full. Oh, that I ever should have lived this dismal day to see. He knit his brow, and nerved his hand, and wrote the fatal D. It was a lovely maiden down in Hertford's lovely shire. Before her on a reading desk lay many a well-filled quire. The lamp of genius lit her eyes. Her years were 22. Her brow was high, her cheek was pale, her bearing somewhat blue. She pondered o'er a folio, and labored to divine the mysteries of X and Y, and many a magic sign. Yet now and then she raised her eye, and ceased awhile to ponder, and seemed as though inclined to allow her thoughts elsewhere to wander. A step was heard, she closed her book, her heart beat high and fast, as through the court and up the stairs a manly figure passed. One moment more, the opening door disclosed unto her view her own beloved examiner, her friend and lover true. Tell me, my own Rick Satyr, is it first or second class? His firm frame shook, he scarce could speak, he only sighed. Alas! She gazed upon him with an air serenely calm and proud. Nay, tell me all, I fear it not, he murmured sadly. Ploughed. She clasped her hands, she closed her eyes as fell the word of doom. Full 5 times round in silence did she pace her little room, then calmly sat before her books, and sighed. Rick Satyr dear, give me the list of subjects to be studied for next year. My own brave Mathematica, my pupil and my pride, my persevering student whom I destined for my bride. Love struggled hard with duty, while the lover marked you be. In the end the stern examiner prevailed and gave you'd Mine was the hand that dealt the blow. Alas, against my will, I plucked you in arithmetic, and canst thou love me still? She gazed upon him, and her eye was full of love and pride. Nay, these are but the trials, love, by which true love is tried. I never knew your value true, until you marked me D. D stands for dear, and dear to me you evermore shall be. A year had passed, and she had passed, for morning, noon, and night, her Euclid and her Barnard Smith had been her sole delight. Soon, Baccalaurea Artium was added to her name, and Hitchin's Groves, and Granta's Courts resounded with her fame, and when Rick Sater hurried down one day by the express, and asked if she would have him, I believe she answered, yes. For now they live together, and a wiser, happier pair, more learned and more loving, can scarce be found elsewhere, and they teach their children Euclid, and their babies all can speak French and German in their cradles, and at 5 can write good Greek, and he is a professor and she professoress, and they never cease the little go in gratitude to bless, when love could not the lover from the path of duty sway, and no amount of plucking could his student fair dismay. Moral. Faint heart ne'er won fair lady, if in love you would have luck, in wooing, as in warfare, trust in nothing else than pluck. 1871. Nunc te bac canem. 'Tis done. Henceforth nor joy nor woe can make or mar my fate. I gaze around, above, below, and all is desolate. Go, bid the shattered pine to bloom, the mourner to be merry, but bid no ray to cheer the tomb in which my hopes I bury. I never thought the world was fair, that truth must reign victorious. I knew that honesty was rare, wealth only meritorious. I knew that women might deceive, and sometimes cared for money, that lovers who in love believe find gall as well as honey. I knew that wondrous classic lore meant something most pedantic, that mathematics were a bore, and morals unromantic. I knew my own beloved light blue might much improve their rowing. In fact, I knew a thing or two decidedly worth knowing. But thou, fool, fool, I thought that thou at least wert something glorious. I saw thy polished ivory brow, and could not feel censorious. I thought I saw thee smile, but that was all imagination. Upon the garden seat I sat, and gazed in adoration. I plucked a newly budding rose, our lips then met together. We spoke not, but a lover knows how lips two lives can tether. We parted. I believe thee true, I asked for no love token, but now thy form no more I view. My pipe, thou art broken. Broken, and when the sun's warm rays illumine hill and heather, I think of all the pleasant days we might have had together. When Lucifer's phosphoric beam shines ere the lake's dim water, oh then, my beautiful, I dream of thee, the salt sea's daughter. Oh, why did death thy beauty snatch and leave me lone and blighted, before the hymeneal match our young loves had united? I knew thou wert not made of clay, I loved thee with devotion, soft emanation of the spray. Bright, foam-born child of ocean. One night I saw an unknown star, methought it gently nodded. I saw, or seemed to see, afar thy spirit disembodied. Cleansed from the stain of smoke and oil, my tears it bade me wipe, and there, relieved from earthly toil, I saw my meerschaum pipe. Men offer me the noisome weed, but naught can calm my sorrow, nor joy nor misery I heed. I care not for the morrow. Pipeless and friendless, tempest-tossed I fade, I faint, I languish. He only who has loved and lost can measure all my anguish. A romance in real, academic life. By the waters of Cam, as the shades were descending, a fellow sat moaning his desolate lot. From his sad eyes were flowing salt rivulets, blending their tide with the river which heeded them not. Oh! Why did I leave? Thus he wearily muttered. The silent repose, and the shade of my books, where the voice of a woman no sound ever uttered, and I ne'er felt the magic of feminine looks. Then I rose when the east with aurora was ruddy, took a plunge in my Pliny, collated a play. No breakfast I ate, for I found in each study a collation which lasted me all through the day. I know not what temptress first came to my Garden of Eden, and lured me stern wisdom to leave, but I rather believe that a sweet Dolly Varden came into my rooms on a soft summer eve. From that hour to this, dresses silken and satin seemed to rustle around me, like wings in a dream, and eyes of bright blue, As I lecture in Latin, fill my head with ideas quite remote from my theme. My life was once lonely, and almost ascetic, but now, if I venture to walk in the street, with her books in her hand, some fair peripatetic is sure to address me with whisperings sweet. Oh, dear Dr. Oxytone, tell me the meaning of this terrible phrase, which I cannot make out, and what is the Latin for reaping and gleaning, is podagra. The Greek or the Latin for gout? And what do you mean by paremiac basis? Did the ladies in Athens wear heels very high? Do give me the rules for Greek accents, and crasis? Did Cornelia drive out to dine in a fly? When were bonnets first worn? Was the toga becoming? Were woman's rights duly respected in Rome? What tune was that horrible emperor strumming, when all was on fire? Was it home, sweet home? Such questions as these, sweetest questions, assail me, when I walk on our Trumpington Road rotten row. The voice of the charmer ne'er ceases to hail me. Is it wisely she charmeth? Wherever I go. Locked up in my rooms, I sigh wearily, oh hey, but cards, notes, and letters pour in by each post, from Phyllis, Euphrosyne, Fidyle, Chloe, Amaryllis and Jane, and a numberless host. And now, I must take either poison or blue pill, for things cannot last very long as they are. He ceased, as the exquisite form of a pupil dawned upon him, serene as a beautiful star. Much of syntax and accidents moving, our fellow discoursed as they sat by the murmuring stream, till, as young Desdemona was charmed by Othello, she listened, as one who is dreaming a dream. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Now he, who was once a confirmed woman-hater, sees faces around him far dearer than books, and no longer a Coelebs, but husband and pater. Lauds in Latin and Greek Mrs. Oxytone's looks. 1871. The Senior Fellow. When the shades of eve descending throw o'er cloistered courts their gloom, dimly with the twilight blending memories long forgotten loom. From the bright fire's falling embers faces smile that smiled of yore, till my heart again remembers hopes and thoughts that live no more. Then again does manhood's vigor nerve my arm with iron strength, as of old when trained with rigor we beat Oxford by a length. Once again the willow-wielding do I urge the flying ball, till, lost ball, the men who are fielding hot and weary faintly call. Then I think of hours of study, study silent as the tomb, till the rays of morning ruddy shone within my lonely room. Once again my heart is burning with ambition's restless glow, and long hidden founts of learning o'er my thirsty spirit flow. Soon fresh scenes my fancy people, for I see a wooded hill, see above the well-known steeple, hear below the well-known rill, joyous sounds each gale is bringing, wafted on its fragrant breath. Hark! I hear young voices singing, voices silent now in death. Brothers, sisters, loved and loving, hold me in their fond embrace. Half forgiving, half reproving, I can see my mother's face, mid a night of raven tresses, through the gloom two sad eyes shine, and my hand a soft hand presses, and a heart beats close to mine. In mine ears a voice is ringing, sweeter far than earthly strain, heavenly consolation bringing from the land that knows no pain. And when slowly from me stealing fades that vision into air, every pulse beats with the feeling that a spirit loved was there. A Valentine. Oh, how shall I write a love ditty to my Alice on Valentine's Day? How win the affection or pity of a being so lively and gay? For I'm an unpicturesque creature, fond of pipes and port wine and a doze without a respectable feature, with a squint and a very queer nose. But she is a being seraphic, full of fun, full of frolic and mirth, who can talk in a manner most graphic every possible language on earth. When she's roaming in regions italic, you would think her a fair Florentine. She speaks German like Schiller, and Gallic better far than Rousseau or Racine. She sings, sweeter far than a cymbal, a sound which I never have heard. She plays, and her fingers most nimble make music more soft than a bird. She speaks, 'tis like melody stealing o'er the Mediterranean sea. She smiles, I am instantly kneeling on each gouty and corpulent knee. 'Tis night. The pale moon shines in heaven, where else it should shine I don't know, and like fireflies the Pleiades 7 are winking at mortals below. Let them wink, if they like it, forever, my heart they will ne'er lead astray, nor the soft silken memories sever, which bind me to Alice de Grey. If I roam through the dim Colosseum, her fairy form follows me there. If I list to the solemn Te Deum, her voice seems to join in the prayer. Sweet spirit, I seem to remember, oh would she were near me to hum it, as I heard her in sunny September, on the Regi's aerial summit. O Alice, where art thou? No answer comes to cheer my disconsolate heart. Perhaps she has married a lancer, or a bishop, or baronet smart. Perhaps, as the belle of the ballroom, she is dancing, nor thinking of me, or riding in front of a small groom, or tossed in a tempest at sea, or listening to sweet Donizetti in Venice, or Rome, or La Scala, or walking alone on a jetty, or buttering bread in a parlor. Perhaps, at our next merry meeting, she will find me dull, married, and grey, so I'll send her this juvenile greeting on the eve of St. Valentine's Day. A curate's complaint. Where are they all departed, the loved ones of my youth, those emblems white of purity, sweet innocence and truth? When daylight drives the darkness, when evening melts to night, when noonday suns burn brightest, they come not to my sight. I miss their pure embraces around my neck and throat, the thousand winning graces whereon I used to dote. I know I may find markets where love is bought and sold, but no such love can equal the tender ties of old. My gentle washerwoman, I know that you are true, the least shade of suspicion can never fall on you. Then fear me not, as fiercely I fix on these stern eyes, and ask in terms emphatic, where are my lost white ties? Each year I buy a dozen, yet scarce a year is gone, ere, looking in my wardrobe, I find that I have none. I don't believe in magic, I know that you are true, yet say, my washerwoman, what can those white ties do? Does each with her own collar to regions far elope, regions by starch untainted, and innocent of soap? I know not, but in future I'll buy no more white ties, but wear the stiff all-rounder of ritualistic guise. Tempora mutantur. There once was a time when I reveled in rhyme, with Valentines deluged my cousins, translated Tibullus and half of Catullus, and poems produced by the dozens. Now my tale is nigh told, for my blood's running cold, all my laurels lie yellow and faded. We have come to the boss. One, like a weary old hoss, per Pegasus limps, and is jaded. And yet Mr. Editor, like a stern creditor, duns me for this or that article, though he very well knows that of verse and of prose I am stripped to the very last particle. What shall I write of? What subject indite of? All my vis viva is failing. Emeritus sum, Mons Parnassus is dumb, and my prayers to the nine unavailing dot. Thus in vain have I often attempted to soften the hard heart of Mr. Arini. Like a sop, I must throw him some sort of a poem, in spite of unwilling Camini. No longer I roam in my Johnian home, no more in the wilderness wander. An absence we know, for the poet says so, makes the heart of the lover grow fonder. I pine for the cam, like a runaway lamb that misses his woolly-backed mother. I can find no relief for my passionate grief, nor my groanings disconsolate smother. Say, how are you all in our old college hall? Are the dinners more costly, or plainer? How are lecturers, tutors, tobacco and pewters, and how is my friend, the complainer? Are the pupils of Merton, and students of Girton, increasing in numbers or fewer? Are they pretty or plain? Humble-minded or vain? Are they paler, or pinker, or bluer? How's the party of stormers, our so-called reformers? Our moral and natural sciences improving men's minds? Who the money now finds for museums and all their appliances? Is philosophy thriving, or sound sense reviving? Is high-table talk metaphysic? Will dark blue or light have the best of the fight, at Putney and Mortlake and Chiswick? I often importune the favor of fortune, that no misadventure may cross us, and Rhodes once again on the watery plain may prove an aquatic colossus. Envy since I wrote I must add a short note, by means of new-fangled devices. Our 3 was unseated, and we were defeated, and robbed of our laurels by Isis. Oh, oft do I dream of the muddy old stream, the father of wisdom and knowledge, where ages ago I delighted to row for the honor and praise of my college. I feel every muscle engaged in the tussle, I hear the wild shouting and screaming, and as we return I can see from the stern Lady Margaret's red banner streaming. Till I wake with a start, such as nightmares impart, and find myself rapidly gliding, and striving in vain at my ease to remain on a seat that is constantly sliding. Institutions are changed, men and manners deranged, new systems of rowing and reading, and writing and thinking, and eating and drinking, each other are quickly succeeding. Who knows to what end these new notions will tend? No doubt all the world is progressing. For Keneally and Odgers, those wide-awake dodgers, the wrongs of mankind are redressing. No doubt we shall soon take a trip to the moon, if we need recreation or frolic, or fly to the stars in the new Pullman cars, when we find the dull earth melancholic. We shall know the delights of enjoying our rights without any duties to vex us. We shall know the unknown, the philosopher's stone shall be ours, and no problems perplex us. For all shall be patent, no mysteries latent, man's mind by intuitive notion. The circle shall square, X and Y shall declare, and discover perpetual motion. Meanwhile, till the earth has accomplished its birth, mid visions of imminent glory, I prefer to remain, as aforetime, a plain and bloated and bigoted Tory. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Dear Mr. Editor, lately my creditor, now fully paid and my debtor. I wonder what you will be minded to do, when you get this rhapsodical letter. If you listen to me, I shall charge you no fee for advice, do not keep or return it. To its merits be kind, to its faults rather blind, in a word, Mr. Editor, burn it. 1875. 1. I am for venemus usque ad umbilicos. Martial 4. 91. Simplex Munditius, or, What should a maiden be? No dot. The following lines were written by request, to be read at a meeting of the Girls' Friendly Society. What should a maiden be? Pure as the rill, ere it has left its first home in the hill, thinking no evil, suspecting no guile, cherishing not that can harm or defile. What should a maiden be? Honest and true, giving to God and to neighbor their due, modest and merciful, simple and neat, clad in the white robe of innocence sweet. What should a maiden be? She should be loath lightly to give or receive loving troth, but when her faith is once plighted, till breath leave her, her love should be stronger than death. What should a maiden be? Merry, weener merriment comes with a natural air, but let not mirth be an everyday guest, quietness sits on a maiden the best. Like a fair lily, sequestered and meek, she should be sought for, not others should seek. But when the wild winds of trouble arise, she should be calm and courageous and wise. What should her words be? Her words should be few, honest and genuine, tender and true, words that overflow from a pure heart within, guiltless of folly, untainted by sin. What should her dress be? Not gaudy and vain, but unaffectedly pretty and plain. She should remember these few simple words. Fine feathers flourish on foolish young birds. Where should a maiden be? Home is the place which a fair maid is most fitted to grace. There should she turn, like a bird to the nest, there should a maiden be, blessing and blessed. There should she dwell as the handmaid of God, and if he bid her pass under the rod, let her each murmur repining suppress, knowing he chasteneth that he may bless. But if earth's blessings each day he renew, let her give glory where glory is due, deem every blessing a gift from above, given, and designed for a purpose of love. What will her future be? If she become matron and mother, may God bless her home. God to the matron all blessings will give, if as God's maiden the young maiden live. What will her future be? If she should die, lightly the earth on her ashes will lie, softly her body will sleep 'neath the sod, while her pure spirit is safe with her God. Turgidus Alpinus. My miserable countrymen, whose wont is once a year to lounge in watering places, disagreeable and dear, who on pygmy Cambrian mountains, and in Scotch or Irish bogs imbibe incessant whiskey, and inhale incessant fogs, ye know not with what transports the mad Alpine clubman gushes, when with rope and axe and knapsack to the realms of snow he rushes. Oh, can I ere the hour forget? A voice within cries, Never! From British beef and sherry deer which my young heart did sever? My limbs were cased in flannel light, my frame in Norfolk jacket, as jauntily I stepped upon the impatient Calais packet. Dark lowered the tempest overhead. The waters wildly rolled, wildly the moon sailed through the clouds. and it grew wondrous cold. The good ship cleft the darkness, like an iron wedge, I trow, as the steward whispered kindly, "You had better go below." Enough. I've viewed with dauntless eye the cattle's bloody tide. Thy horse, proud Duke of Manchester, I've seen straight at me ride. I've braved chance ramrods from my friends, blank cartridges from foes, the jeers of fair spectators, when I fell upon my nose. I've laughed at toils and troubles, as a British volunteer, but the thought of that nice misery still makes me pale with fear. Sweet the repose which cometh as the due reward of toil, sweet to the sea-worn traveller the French or British soil. But a railway carriage full of men, who smoke and drink and spit, who disgust you by their manners, and oppress you with their wit, a carriage garlic-scented, full of uproar and of heat, to a sleepy, jaded Briton is decidedly not sweet. Then welcome, welcome Paris, peerless city of delights. Welcome, boulevards, fields Elysian, brilliant days and magic nights. Vive la gloire, et vive Napoleon! Vive l'Empire, c'est la paix! Vive la France, the land of beauty! Vive la rue St. Honoré! Wildly shouting thus in triumph, I arrived at my hotel. The exterior was palatial, and the dinner pretty well. O'er the rest, ye muses draw a veil. 'Twas the exhibition year, and everything was nasty, and proportionately dear. Why should ye sing how much I paid for one poor pint of claret? The horrors of my bedroom in a flea-frequented garret, its non-Sabaean odors, Lilliputian devices for washing in a teacup. All at exhibition prices? To the mountains, to their snowy peaks I fly. For their pure, primeval freshness, for their solitude I sigh. Past old Dijon and its buffet, past fair Macon and its wine, through the limestone cliffs of Jura, past Mont Cenis' wondrous line, till at 10 a.m. Lake Leman woos me with its crystal face. And I take outside the diligence for Chamonix my place. Still my fond imagination views, in memory's mirror clear, purple rock, and snowy mountain, pinewood black, and glassy mere, foaming torrents hoarsely raving, tinkling cowbells in the glade, meadows green, and maidens mowing in the pleasant twilight shade, the crimson crown of sunset on Mont Blanc's majestic head, and each lesser peak beneath him pale and ghastly as the dead, eagle-nest-like mountain chalets, where the tourist for some sou can imbibe milk by the bucket, and on nature's grandeur muse Mont Anvert the pas called Mauvaise, which I thought was pas Mauvaise, where, in spite of all my boasting, I encountered some delay, for, much to my amazement, at the steepest part one met a matron who weighed 20 stones, and I think must be there yet, the stupendous Col du Géant, with its chaos of seracs, the procession into Courmayeur, with lantern, rope, and axe, the sweet girl with golden ringlets. Her dear name was Mary Ann, whom I helped to climb the Jardin, and who cut me at Lausanne. On these, the charms of Chamonix, sweeter far than words can tell, at the witching hour of twilight doth my memory love to dwell. Ye, who ne'er have known the rapture, the unutterable bliss of Savoy's sequestered valleys, and the mountains of La Suisse, the mosquitoes of Martigny, the confusion of Sierre, the dirt of Visp or Minister, and the odors everywhere, ye, who ne'er from Monte Rosa have surveyed Italia's plain, till you wonder if you ever will get safely down again, ye, who ne'er have stood on tiptoe on a knife-like snow arrate, nor have started avalanches by the pressure of your weight, ye, who ne'er have packed your weary limbs in sleeping bags at night some few inches from a bergschrund, neath the pale moon's freezing light, who have ne'er stood on the snowfields, when the sun in glory rose, nor returned again at sunset with parched lips and skinless nose, ye, who love not massed crevasses, falling stones, and blistered feet, sudden changes from Siberia's cold to equatorial heat, ye, who love not the extortions of padrone, driver, guide, ye, who love not o'er the Gemmi on a kicking mule to ride, you miserable creatures, who will never know true bliss, you're not the men for Chamonix. Avoid La Suisse. The Alpine Club man. Up the high Alps, perspiring man, steam, to please the schoolboys, and become a theme. Cf. Juvenile Saturday X. the 106. We who know not the charms of a glass below zero, come list to the lay of an Alpine Club hero. For no mortal below, contradicted who can, lives a life half so blessed as the Alpine Club man. When men of low taste snore serenely in bed, he is up and abroad with a nose blue and red, while the lark, who would peacefully sleep in her nest, wakes and blesses the stranger who murders her rest. Now blowing their fingers, with frostbitten toes, the joyous procession exultingly goes. Above them the glaciers spectral are shining, but onward they march undismayed, unrepining. Now the glacier blue they approach with blue noses, when a yawning crevasse further progress opposes. Already their troubles begin, here's the rub. So they halt, and call aloud for their grub. From the fountain of pleasure will bitterness spring, yet why should the muse aught but happiness sing? No! Let me the terrible anguish conceal of the hero whose guide had forgotten the veal. 1. Now, all full inside, on the ice they embark, the moon has gone down, and the morning is dark, dreary drizzles the rain. Oh, deny it who can, there's no one so blessed as the Alpine Club man. But why should I dwell on their labors at length? Why sing of their eyelids' astonishing strength? How they ride up, aerates, with slow, steady advance, one leg over Italy, one over France. Now the summit is gained, the reward of their toil, so they sit down contentedly water to boil, eat and drink, stamp their feet, and keep warm if they can. Oh, who is so blessed as the Alpine Club man? Now their lips and their hands are of wonderful hue, and skinless their noses, that erst were so blue, and they find to their cost that high regions agree with that patient explorer and climber, the flea. Then they slide down again in a manner not cozy, descensus baud facilis est montis rosi, now spread on all fours, on their backs now descending, till broadcloth and bellows call loudly for mending. Now harnessed together like so many horses, by bridges of snow they cross awful crevasses, so frail are these bridges that they who go o'er 'em indulge in a perilous pons asinorum. Lastly, weary and jaded, with hunger oppressed, in a hut they chew goat's flesh, and court gentle rest. But entomological hosts have conspired to drive sleep from their eyelids, with clambering tired. O thou, who with banner of strangest device hast never yet stood on a summit of ice, where, lifeless but beautiful, nature does show an unvaried expanse of rock, rain, ice, and snow. Perchance thou mayst ask what avails all their toil? What avails it on mountain tops water to boil? What avails it to leave their snug beds in the dark? Do they go for a view? Do they go for a lark? No, presumptuous wretch, 'tis not science they prize, the lark, and the view, 'tis all mist they despise. Like the wise king of France with his 10,000 men, they go up their mountain, to come down again. 1. Cf. Peaks, Passes, and Glaciers, First Series, page 296. The Modern Climber. Year after year, as summer suns come round, upon the Calais packet am I found, thence to Geneva hurry by express. I halt for breakfast, bathe, and change my dress. My well-worn knapsack to my back I strap, my alpine rope I neatly round me wrap, then, axe in hand, the diligence disdaining, I walk to Chamonix, by way of training. Arrived at Coutlets and by eventide, I interview my porter and my guide, that mentor who has dragged full oft these aching, shaking, quaking limbs aloft, braved falling stones, cut steps on ice slopes steep, that I the glory of his deeds might reap. My porter, who with uncomplaining back o'erpasses peaks and glaciers bears my pack, though now the good man looks a trifle sadder, when I suggest the ill-omened name of ladder. O'er many a pipe our heads we put together, our first inquiry is of course the weather. With buoyant hearts the starlit heaven we view, then our next point is, what are we to do? My pipe I pocket, and with head uptossed my listening followers I thus accost. Mont Blanc, we know, is stupid, stale, and slow, a tiresome tramp o'er lumps of lifeless snow. The Col du Géant is a trifle worse, the Jardins fit for babies with their nurse, the Aiguille Verte is more the sort of thing, but time has robbed it of its former sting. Alone the Dent du Géant and the Dru, one, remain undone, and therefore fit to do. Remember how I love, my comrades tried, to linger on some rocky mountain's side, where I can hear the crash of falling stones, threatening destruction to the tourist's bones. No cadence falls so sweetly on my ear as stones discharged from precipices sheer. No sight is half so soothing to my nerves as boulders bounding in eccentric curves. If falling stones sufficient be not found, lead me where avalanches most abound. Ye shake your heads, ye talk of home and wife, of babes dependent on the father's life. What? Still reluctant? Let me then make clear the duties of the guide and mountaineer. Mine is to order, yours is to obey, for you are hirelings, and 'tis I who pay. I've heard, indeed, that some old-fashioned heron, who've walked with Elmer, Melchior, and Purin, maintain that mountaineering is a pleasure, a recreation for our hours of leisure. To be or not to be perhaps may matter to them, for they may have some brains to scatter. But we, I trust, shall take a higher view, and make our mountain motto die or do. Nay, hear me out! Your scruples well I know, trust me, not unrewarded shall ye go. If ye succeed, much money will I give, and mine unfaltering friendship, while ye live. Nor only thus will I your deeds requite, high testimonials in your books I'll write. Thee, trusty guide, will I much eulogize as strong and cautious, diligent and wise, active, unhesitating, cheerful, sure, nay, almost equal to an amateur. And now, my meekest of meek beasts of burden, thou too shalt have thine undisputed guerdon. I'll do for thee the very best I can, and sound thy praise as a good third-rate man. But if ye fail, if cannonading stones, or toppling ice crag, pulverize your bones, O happy stroke, that makes immortal heroes of men who, otherwise, would be but zeros. What though no alpine horn make music drear o'er the lone snow which furnishes your bier, nor alpine maiden strew your grave with posies of gentian, edelweiss, and alpine roses? The alpine muse her iciest tears shall shed, and build a stone man o'er your honored head. Chamois and boucanes the spot shall haunt, with eagles, choughs, and lammergeiers gaunt. The mountain marmots, marching o'er the snow, their yearly pilgrimage shall ne'er forego. Tyndall himself, in grand, prophetic tones, shall calculate the movement of your bones, and your renown shall live serene, eternal, embalmed in pages of the Alpine Journal. By reasoning such as this, year after year, I overcome my men's unreasoning fear. Twice has my guide by falling stones been struck, yet still I trust his science and my luck. A falling stone once cut my rope in twain. We stopped to mend it, and marched on again. Once a big boulder, with a sudden whack, severed my knapsack from my porter's back. Twice on a sliding avalanche I've slid, while my companions in its depths were hid. Daring all dangers, no disaster fearing, I carry out my plan of mountaineering. Thus have I conquered glacier, peak, and pass, Aidwills du Midi, Cols de Grandes Jorises. Thus shall I onward march from peak to peak, till there are no new conquests left to seek. Oh, the wild joy, the unutterable bliss to hear the coming avalanches hiss, or place oneself in acrobatic pose, while mountain missiles graze one's sunburnt nose. And if some future season I be doomed to be by boulders crushed, or snow entombed, still let me upward urge my mad career, and risk my limbs and life for honor dear. Sublimely acquiescent in my lot, I'll die a martyr for I know not what. 1876. 1. Written in 1876. The Climber's Dream. I made an ascent of the Eiger last year, which has ne'er been surpassed. 'Twas dangerous, long, and laborious, but almost incredibly fast. We started at 12 from the Fallberg, ascended the Manche by the way, and were well at the base of our mountain, as the peak caught the dawn of the day. In front of me Elmer and Purin cut steps, each as big as a bucket, while behind me there followed, as Heron, George, Stephen, and Freshfield, and Tuckett. We got to the top without trouble, there halted, of course, for the view, when clouds, sailing fast from the southward, veiled over the vault of dark blue. The lightning shone playfully round us, the thunder ferociously growled, the hail beat upon us in bullets, and the wind everlastingly howled. We turned to descend to the sky deck, eyes blinded, ears deafened, we ran, in our panic and hurry, forgetting to add a new stone to the man. Palinurus himself, that is Elmer, no longer could make out the track. 'Twas folly, no doubt, to go onward, 'twas madness, of course, to go back. The snow's slope grew steeper and steeper, the lightning more vividly flared, the thunder rolled deeper and deeper, and the wind more offensively blared. But at last a strong gust for a moment dispersed the thick cloud from our sight, and revealed an astonishing prospect, which filled not our hearts with delight. On our right was a precipice awful, on the left chasms yawning and deep, glazed rocks and snow slopes were before us, at an angle alarmingly steep. We all turned and looked back at Almer, who then was the last on the rope. His face for a moment was clouded, then beamed with the dawn of a hope. He came to the front, and thenceforward in wonderful fashion he led, over rocks, over snow slopes glissading, while he stood, bolt upright on his head. We followed, in similar fashion. Hurrah, what a moment is this! What a moment of exquisite transport! A realization of bliss! To glissade is a pleasant sensation, of which all have written, or read, but to taste it, in perfect perfection, you should learn to glissade on your head. Hurrah! With a wild scream of triumph, over snow, over boulders we fly, our heads firmly pressed to the surface, our heels pointing up to the sky. We bound o'er the bergschrund uninjured, we shoot o'er a precipice sheer. Hurrah, for the modern glissader! Hurrah, for the wild mountaineer! But, alas! What is this? What a shaking! What a jar! What a bump! What a thump! Out of bed, in intense consternation, I bound with a hop, skip, and jump. For I hear the sweet voice of a person, of whom I with justice am proud. My dear, when you dream about mountains, I wish you not jodle so loud. The Beaconsfield alphabet. A is my new policy called annexation. B is the bother it causes the nation. C is Lord Chelmsford, engaged with Zulus. D the disasters which give me the blues. E is the effort I make to look merry. F is my failure, deplorable very. G is Sir Garnet, alas, not ubiquitous. H stands for H, T, and MP iniquitous. I stands for India, a source of vexation. J are the Jews, a most excellent nation. K is the Khedive, whose plan is to borrow LL. D. I'll annex him tomorrow. M's the majority, which I much prize. N are the non-contents whom I despise. O's the opposition, so often defeated. P is P, LL, that home ruler conceited. Q are the questions put by noble lords. Are my responses, more cutting than swords. S is the Sultan, my friend true and warm. T are the Turks, whom I hope to reform. U's my utopia, Cyprus, I mean. V is Victoria, my empress and queen. W's the world, which ere long I shall own. X is the sign of my power unknown. Y is the yacht I shall keep in the Red Sea. Z the Zulus, whom I wish in the Dead Sea. 1879. The Gladstone alphabet. A is Aristides, or Gladstone the Good. B is Lord B, whom I'd crush if I could. C are conservatives, full of mad pranks. D are the dunces who fill up their ranks. E stands for Yom, of some notoriety. F for the fuss made in Oxford society. G stands for Gladstone, a hewer of wood. H is my hatchet of merciless mood. I is the Irish church which I cut down. J are the jobs which I kill with a frown. K are the knocks which I give and I take. L are the liberals whom I forsake. M are the ministry whom I revile. N are the noodles my speeches beguile. O is the office I mean to refuse. P is the premier, I long for his shoes. Q are the qualms of my conscience refined. R is the rhetoric nothing can bind. S is her Schliemann who loves much to walk about T ancient Troy, which I love much to talk about. U is the union of church and state. V are my former views, now out of date. W is William, the people's true bill. X is the exit from power of that will. Y is young England, who soon will unite sea in fresh seal for the people's delight. 1879. Solitude in September. O beata solitudo, o sola beatitudo. Inscription in the grounds of Berg Bersek near Basel. Sweet solitude, where dost thou linger? When and where shall I look in thy face? Feel the soft magic touch of thy finger, the glow of thy silent embrace? Stern civilization has banished thy charms to a region unknown. The spell of thy beauty has vanished. Sweet solitude, where hast thou flown? I have sought thee on pampas and prairie, by blue lake and bluer crevasse, on shores that are arid and airy, lone peak, and precipitous pass. I have sought thee, sweet solitude, ever regardless of peril and pain. But in spite of my utmost endeavor I have sought thee, fair charmer, in vain. To the Alps in September, unconducted by Cook, did I rush. Full well even now I remember how my heart with emotion did gush. Here at least in these lonely recesses with thee I shall cast in my lot, shall feel thy endearing caresses, forgetting all else and forgot. But I met a young couple, proposing, on the top of the sunny Longard. I surprised an old gentleman dozing, Times, in hand, on the heights of Fort Bard. In the fir woods of sweet Pontresina picnic papers polluted the walks. On the top of the frosty Bernina I found a young mountain of corks. I trod by the falls of the Handeck, on the end of a penny cigar. As I roamed in the woods above Landeck a hairpin my pleasure did mar. To the riffle in vain I retreated, Mr. Gaze and the gazers were there. On the top of the Matterhorn seated I picked up a lady's back hair. From the Bellevue in Thun I was hunted by Airy, who wished to play pool. On the Col du Bonhomme I confronted the whole of a young ladies' school. At Giacomo's in Chiesa I was asked to take shares in a mine, with an agent for Mappin's new razor. I sat down at Bovino to dine. On the waves of Lake Leman were floating old lemons. Imagine my feelings. The fish in Lucerne were all gloating on castaway salads and peelings, and eggshells and old bones of chicken on the shore of St. Moritz did lie. My spirit within me did sicken. Sweet solitude, where shall I fly? Disconsolate, gloomy, and undone I take in the Dilly, my place. By Zurich and Basel to London I rush, as if running a race. My quest and my troubles are over. As I drive through the desolate street to my club in Pall Mall, I discover sweet solitude's summer retreat. Meditations of a classical man on a mathematical paper during a late fellowship examination. Woe, woe is me! For whither can I fly? Where hide me from Methesis' fearful eye? Where'er I turn the goddess haunts my path, like grim Megara in revengeful wrath, in accents wild, that would awake the dead, bids me perplexing problems to unthread, bids me the laws of X and Y to unfold, and with dry eyes, dread mysteries behold. Not thus, when blood maternal he had shed, the Furies' fangs Orestes wildly fled. Not thus Ixion fears the falling stone, Tisiphon's red lash, or dark Cocytus moan. Spare me, Methesis, though thy foe I be, though at thy altar ne'er I bend the knee, though o'er thy ass's bridge I never pass, and ne'er in this respect will prove an ass, still let mild mercy thy fierce anger quell. Oh let me live to be a Johnnian fellow. She hears me not. With heart as hard as lead, she hurls a rhombus at my luckless head. Lo, where her myrmidons, a wrangling crew, with howls and yells rise darkling to the view. Their algebra, a maiden old and pale, drinks double X, enough to drown a whale. Their Euclid, mid a troop of riders, passes, riding a rhomboid o'er the bridge of asses, and shouts to Newton, who seems rather deaf, I've crossed the bridge in safety. QEF their black mechanics, innocent of soap, lift the long lever, pull the pulley's rope, coil the coy cylinder, explain the fear which makes the nurse lean slightly to her rear, else, equilibrium lost, to earth she'll fall, down will come child, nurse, crinoline and all. But why describe the rest? A motley crew, of every figure, magnitude, and hue, now circles they describe, now form in square, now cut ellipses in the ambient air, then in my ear with one accord they bellow. Fly, wretch! Thou ne'er shalt be a Johnnian fellow! Must I then bid a long farewell to John's, its stately courts, its wisdom-wooing dons, its antique towers, its labyrinthine maze, its nights of study, and its pleasant days? O learned synod, whose decree I wait, whose just decision makes, or mars my fate, if in your gardens I have loved to roam, and found within your courts a second home, if I have loved the elm tree's quivering shade, since on your banks my freshman limbs I laid, if rustling reeds make music unto me more soft, more sweet than mortal melody, if I have loved to urge the flying ball against your racket court's re-echoing wall, if, for the honor of the Johnnian red, I've gladly spurned the matutinal bed, and though at rowing, woe is me! No dab, I've rowed my best, and seldom caught a crab, If classic Camus flowed to me more dear than yellow Tiber or Ilyssus clear, if fairer seemed to me that fragrant stream than Cupid's kiss, or poet's pictured dream, if I have loved to linger o'er the page of Roman bard and Academian sage, if all your grave pursuits, your pastimes gay, have been my care by night, my joy by day, still let me roam, unworthy though I be, by Cam's slow stream, beneath the old elm tree, still let me lie in Alma Mater's arms, far from the wild world's troubles and alarms. Hear me, nor in stern wrath my prayer repel. Oh, let me live to be a Johnnian fellow. 1865. The Lady Margaret Fifth Boat. May, 1863. 1. Boycott W. 5. Paley G. A. 2. Ferguson R. S. 6. Gorst P. F. 3. Bowling E. W. 7. Secker J. H. 4. Smith Jason. 8. Fisher J. Stirrer Bushel W. D. 8. BAS Stout from town came out MA degrees to take, and made a vow from stroke to bow a bump or two to make. Weary were they and jaded with the din of London town, and they felt a tender longing for their long-lost cap and gown. So they sought the old Loganus. Well pleased, I trow, was he, the manly forms he knew so well once more again to see, and they cried, Old Loganus, canst thou find us e'er a boat, in which our heavy carcasses may o'er the waters float? Then laughed aloud Loganus, a bitter jest loved he, and he cried, Such heavy mariners I ne'er before did see. I have a fast commodious barge, drawn by a well-fed steed, 'twill scarcely bear your weight, I fear, for never have I seen 8 men so stout wish to go out a rowing in a height. Why, gentlemen, a man of war would sink beneath your weight. Thus spake the old Loganus, and he laughed both long and loud, and when the 8 men heard his words, they stood abashed and cowed, for they knew not that he loved them, and that, sharply though he spoke, the old man loved them kindly, though he also loved his joke, for Loganus is a Trojan, and though hoary be his head, he loveth Margarita, and the ancient Johnnian red. So he brought them out an toward tub, and oars both light and strong, and bade them be courageous, and row their ship along. Then in jumped Casa Minor, the captain of our crew, and the gallant son of Fergus in a blazer, bright and new, and Thomas O'Cullinden, full proudly grasped his oar, and Iason O'Chalkergos, who weighs enough for 4. For if Jason and Medea had sailed with him for cargo, to the bottom of the Euxine would have sunk the good ship Argo. Then Pelagulus Bargius, the mightiest of our crew, than whom no better oarsman ever wore the Cambridge blue. And at number 6 sat Peter, whom Putney's waters know. Number 7 was young Josephus, the ever sleepless Joe. Number 8 was John Piscator, at his oar a wondrous dab, who though all his life a fisher, yet has never caught a crab. Last of all the Marshal Modius, having laid his good sword by, seized the rudder strings, and uttered an invigorating cry. Are you ready all? Row to a stroke. Eyes front, and sit at ease. Quick march! I meant to say, row on! And mind the time all, please. Then sped the gallant vessel, like an arrow from a bow, and the men stood wondering on the banks to see the old UNS row, and Father Camus raised his head, and smiled upon the crew, for their swing, and time, and feather, and their forms, full well he knew. They rowed past Barnwell's silvery pool, past Charon's gloomy bark, and nearly came to grief beneath the railway rafters dark. But down the willow fringe long reach so fearful was their pace, that joyous was each Johnnian, and pale each foeman's face. They rode round Ditton Corner, and past the pleasant plough, nor listened to the wild appeal for beer that came from bow. They rode round Grassy Corner, and its fairy forms divine, but from the boat there wandered not an eye of all the 9. They rode round First Post Corner, the little bridge they passed, and calmly took their station 2 places from the last. Off went the gun. With one accord the sluggish Cam they smote, and were bumped in 50 seconds by the second Jesus boat. 1863. Transcriber's note, the names Thomas O'Cullinden and Iason O'Chalkergos were transliterated from the Greek as follows: Thomas Theta Omega Mu Alpha Sigma O Omicron, Cullinden kappa, upsilon, lambda, iota, nu, delta, omega, nu. Ison, Jason, iota, alpha, sigma, omega, nu. O omicron. Chalkurgos, chi, alpha, lambda, kappa, omicron, upsilon, rho, gamma, omicron, sigma. In camum. Ridicula nupersimba, sicut meus est mos, fluminias propter salices et murmura cami, multa movens mecum, fumo inspirant, iaspam. Illic forte mihi sanis occurribat imago squalida, torvatunes, longos in compta capillos, ipsi manus simbum prensens esse litor inudo deposut, comic humros agnescer latos imminesque artis ac ora hirsuta vidbar, mox lacrimas intertales dedit, or querellas. Nate, inquit. Tu semper enim pius acola cami, Nate, patris miserere tuae, miserere turum. Quinque repertatis tumit isidis unde triumphus, quinque anni vidir meos sign laudi secundo simbum urgere loco cunctantum, et cedera victos. Heu! Cos erit finis? Cos me mene exodus olim? Terga bum turgis six non sedentia nos stri exercen juvens, nida acamania crura, digna gigantias intercerta palestras, quisque ferent, latasque humros et brachia longa, colac atlantio non inferiora labor. Sed vis arte carens frustra prostagna laborat, fit brevis inc dies brevier, pro dedicus ingens. Ictus, et inserto tremulum movit impet simbum, usque voluturi similem, tamen usque morantem. Ah! Stanlius ubi est? Ubi fortis et acer ionas et virtus ingens, majorque vel Herculiudas? Ah! Ubi, laiva me navit quem fluminis ora, alictus, vitrius lunge spectandus ocellis, dulce decus cami, quem plebs ignobilis olim, vulpicanum superi grado cognimine dicant. T quoque, magna pales, et mea flumina deflento formos pure, quibus alto in gurgitem mercis mil dedit, repuit mil oscula candida nias? Quid decus amus sum repito, autim laudi perempta nomina putnius analibus erudittester? Granta rut, periit decus, periit vetusta gloria remorum primique periquora navis. Sed vas, o juvens, sanguis quibus integer evae, spes ventura domus, grantec novissima proles, antiquum revocate decus, revocate triumphos. Continuo palinuris ubi iam purgite dixit erectum liberate caput, nec pandera crura par site, nec solidis fermi considera transtris. Ast ubi contactus iam palmula sensoritundis, compressa incipiat iam tum mihi crura facilis accipere, et facil cetera accelerare parendis. Incipient ictica vim non prompserit omnum dic hominesque audera. Hic, pondus inutile simbi, tardatiter, comites necat, hunc tu nada, cavito. Nec minus, incepto quoties rithis emicadictu, curas sit ad finem justos profere labors. Vidi equidem multos, silianter nomina, fluctus precipits penetras, sed heu. Brevis efflut ictus, immemor etremi medic laboris in unda, nam tales nisus tolerar humana nequit vis, et quambis primos jam victura carina evolet in cursus, primus triumphat in indies, mox sub effinis audeus ac ultima meta laborum, labiter ex animis, six non virtut sub acta. Tu quoque simbi tendis palinuris habinas ultro hortiviros, fortes solari beninis vasibus, ignavos accend, suasque labors fac perigent, segnique vita torper viterno. Sed quid ego haec? Prisci assi iam pietatis imago olim mene, assi quid vobis mea gloria curie est, camigini, misero tandem succurite patri, irreptasque dio vincendo redite honores. Tunc ego arendinia redimitis tempora vita antiquo frur imperior justis triumphus, tum demum cloacina meos fidissima fluctus desieret temerare, et puro flumine labens camu ad oceanum volviter amabilis amnis. Dixit, et in Pisces fluvius sisi abdidit undis, sed me ridiculum solventum alitor simbum nectaris ambrosiae circumvolventur odors, decident deo, nerescum pellit acutis confusi canis amnis et illudabilis ora. Father Camus. Smoking lately in my funny, as I'm wont, beneath the bank, listening to Cam's rippling murmurs through the weeds and willows dank, as I chewed the cud of fancy, from the water there appeared an old man, fierce-eyed and filthy, with a long and tangled beard. To the oozy shore he paddled, clinging to my funny nose, till, in all his mud majestic, Cam's gigantic form arose. Brawny, broad of shoulders was he, hairy were his face and head, and amid loud lamentations tears incessantly he shed. Son, he cried, the sorrows pity of thy melancholy sire. Pity Camus! Pity Cambridge! Pity our disasters dire! 5 long years hath Isis triumphed, 5 long years have seen my 8 rowing second, vainly struggling gainst an unrelenting fate. What will be the end, I know not. What will be the doom of Camus? Shall I die disowned, dishonored? Shall I live, and yet be famous? Backs as strong as oxen have we, legs Herculean and bare, legs that in the ring with Titan wrestler might to wrestle dare. Arms we have long, straight, and sinewy, shoulders broad, necks thick and strong, necks that to the earth-supporting Atlas might full well belong. But our strength unscientific strives in vain through stagnant water. Every day, I blush to own it, Cambridge strokes our rowing shorter. With a short spasmodic impulse see the boats a moment leap, starting with a flying motion, soon they stop and sink to sleep. Where are Stanley, Jones, and Courage? Where is Judah stout and tall, where the stroke named all by bargemen, known to Cambridge as Jack Hall? 'Twas a spectacle to see him in his gig lamps row along, and the good ships speeding onward swift as poets' gushing song. Where is Paley? Where is Fairbairn, from whose lips the Naiads dank snatched and gave their sweetest kisses when our 8 at Chiswick sank? What avails it to remember brilliant days now lost in night? What avails it Putney's annals, and past glories to recite? Lost is Granta, lost our glory, lost our former pride of place, gone are all my blushing honors, naught is left me but disgrace. For regardless of all science, every oarsman now obeys wild, new-fangled laws and notions, never dreamed of in old days. But do you, my gentle freshman, who have youth in every vein, labor by your manly valor our lost laurels to regain? When you hear the coxswainess row on all, then keep erect your head, then be your arms and bodies with one motion for'ard sped, sit firm upon your cushions all, and when the oar is in, with one harmonious action let your work at once begin, press your feet against the stretcher, and your legs with vigor ply, till the ship, as swift as lightning, through the yielding water fly. He who misses the beginning makes his comrades all to suffer, spoils the swing, and is a nuisance. Turn him out, for he's a duffer. Having made a good beginning you must carry on the work, and until the stroke is finished not an atom must you shirk. I have seen, no names I mention, certain oarsmen with a dash plunge their oars into the water, and produce a sudden splash. But the middle and the finish are all wasted in the air, and no human constitution can such toil incessant bear. For although the ship at starting may at once its distance clear, and victory seems certain, when the winning post is near, the crew worn out and breathless have nothing in them left, and though pluck may ne'er desert them, of their vigor are bereft. And do you, my Palinurus, steering straight the gallant bark, by voice and exhortation keep your heroes to the mark. Cheer the plucky, chide the cowards who to do their work are loath, and forbid them to grow torpid by indulging selfish sloth. Fool! I know my words are idle. Yet if any love remain, if my honor be your glory, my discredit be your pain, if a spark of old affection in your hearts be still alive, rally round old Father Camus, and his glories past revive. Then adorned with reedy garland shall I take my former throne, and victor of proud Isis, reign triumphant and alone. Then no more shall Cloacina with my streams her offerings blend, and old Camus clear as crystal to the ocean shall descend. He spoke, and neath the surface, black as pitch, he hid his head, and punting out my funny, I my homeward journey sped. But a strange ambrosial odor, as the gods sank neath the flood, seemed to float and hover round me, creeping upward from the mud, and forever from the water's troubled face there seemed to rise a melancholy fragrance of dead dogs unto the skies. In memoriam G.A.P. He has gone to his grave in the strength of youth, while life shone bright before him, and we, who remember his worth and truth, stand vainly grieving o'er him. He has gone to his grave, That manly heart no more with life is glowing, and the tears to our eyes unbidden start, our sad hearts overflowing. I gaze on his rooms as beneath I pace, and the past again comes o'er me, for I feel his grasp, and I see his face, and his voice has a welcome for me. I gaze on the river, and see once more his form in the race competing, and I hear the time of his well-known oar, and the shouts his triumph greeting. Flow on, cold river! Our bitter grief no tears from thy waves can waken, thy whispering reed, and thy willow leaf by no sad sighs are shaken. Thy banks are thronged by the young and gay, who dream not of the morrow, no ear hast thou for a mournful lay, no sympathy with sorrow. Flow on, dull river! Thy heedless wave, as it echoes shouts of gladness, bears forms as stalwart, and hearts as brave, as his whom we mourn in sadness. But an arm more strong, and a heart more bold, and with purer feelings glowing, thy flowing water shall ne'er behold, till time has ceased from flowing. 1866. Grant of Victrix. Let penny-liners' columns pour of turgid efflorescence, describe in language that would floor our Cayleys, Rouths, and Besants, how Oxford oars as levers move, while Cambridge mathematics, though excellent in theory, prove unstable in aquatics. Our muse, a maiden ne'er renowned for pride, or self-reliance, knows little of the depths profound of telegraphic science. But now her peace she cannot hold, and like a true Camina, with look half blushing and half bold, descends into the arena. Sing who was he that steered to win, in spite of 9 disasters, and proved that men who ne'er give in must in the end be masters. No warrior stern by land or sea, with spurs, cocked hat, and sword on, has weightier work than fell to thee, our gallant little Gordon, who when old Cam was almost dead, his glory almost mouldy, replaced the laurels on his head. Sweet Echo answers, Goldie, who was our 7 of mighty brawn as valiant as a lion? Who could he be but strapping Strachan, Australia's vigorous scion? Who rode more fierce than Lioness, bereft of all her whelps? 1,000 light blue voices blessed the magic name of Phelps. Who was our 5? Herculean Low, not he of the exchequer, so strong, that he with ease could row a race in a 3-decker. Cam sighed. When shall I win a race? Fair Granta whispered. When, sir, you see at 4 his proper place, my fairy queen like Spencer. 'Tis distance robes the mountain pale in azure tints of bright hue, more than a distance lends to Dale, his well-earned double light blue. Proud Oxford burnt in days of old Ridley the Cambridge martyr, but this year in our Ridley bold proud Oxford caught a Tartar. And Randolph rode as well beseemed his school renowned in story, and like old Nelson only dreamed of Westminster and glory. These men of weight rode strong and straight, and led from start to finish, their slow and steady 38 no spurts could e'er diminish, till Derbyshire, not given to lose, sees Cambridge rowing past him, and Goldie steps into his shoes. Long may their leather last him. Glory be theirs who've won full well the love of Alma Mater, the smiles of every light blue belle, the shouts of every pater. Unlimited was each man's store of courage, strength, and fettle, from Goldie downwards every oar was ore of precious metal. Then fare you well till this time year, ye heroes stout and strapping, and then beware, forgive my fear, lest Oxford find ye napping, and oh! When o'er your work ye bend, mid shouts of light blues winning, if you would triumph in the end, remember the beginning. P.S. The muse true to her sex, less to be blamed than pitied, a postscript must of course annex to state a point omitted. When Granta glorying in success with Camus pours her orisons, one name she gratefully must bless, that name is mighty Morrison's. The Great Boat Race. 1. Hawkshaw 3rd Trinity. 5. Kinglake 3rd Trinity. 2. Pigot Corpus. 6. Borthwick 1st Trinity. 3. Watson Pembroke. 7. Stevenson Trinity Hall. 4. Hawkins Lady Margaret. 8. Selwyn 3rd Trinity. Stirrer Archer Corpus. Before the race. Come, list to me, who wish to hear the glories of our crew. I'll tell you all the names of those who wear the Cambridge blue. First Hawkshaw comes, a stalwart bow, as tough as oak, nay tougher. Look at him ye who wish to see the antipodes to Duffer. Swift as the hawk in airy flight, strong as the guardsman's shawl, we men of mortal muscles must contemplate him with awe. Though I dwell by Cam's slow river, and I hope am not a bigot, I think that Isis cannot boast a better man than Pigott, active, and strong, and steady, and never known to shirk, of corpus the quintessence, he is always fit for work. The men of Thames will be amazed when they see our, three, so strong, and doubt if such a mighty form to mortal mold belong. What son is this? They, one and all, will ask in awe and wonder. The men of Cam will answer make. A mighty son of thunder. Next Hawkins comes at number 4. The sole surviving pet of the patroness of rowing, the Lady Margaret. When they think of his broad shoulders, and strong and sinewy arms, nor parents dear, nor brothers stern, need foster fond alarms. Oh! A tear of love maternal in Etona's eye will quiver when she sees her favorite Kinglake also monarch of the river. Oh! That I could honor fitly in this unassuming song that wondrous combination of steady, long, and strong. Then comes a true blue mariner from the ever-glorious first, in the golden arms of glory and the lap of victory nursed. Though blue may be his colors, there are better oarsmen few, and Oxford when it sees him will perhaps look still more blue. Then comes the son of Stephen, as solid as a wall, we need not add, who know his name, that he hails from Trinity Hall. Oh! In the race, when comes at last the struggle close and dire, may he have the wind and courage of his tutor and his sire. May he think of all the glories of the ribbon black and white, and add another jewel to the diadem so bright. Then comes a name which Camus and Etona know full well, a name that's always sure to win and ne'er will prove a sell. Oh, what joy will fill a bishop's heart oft a far, far distant shore, when he sees our stroke, reviving the memories of yore. Then old Cam will he revisit in fancy's fairy dream, and rouse once more with sounding o'er the slow and sluggish stream. But who is this with voice so shrill, so resolute and ready? Who cries so oft, "Too late! Too soon! Quicker forward! Steady, steady!" Why, 'tis our young Toxophilite, our archer bold and true, the lightest and the tightest who has ever steered light blue. Oh, when he pulls the yielding string may he shoot both strong and straight, and may the knight be swift, and sure of his mighty arrows 8. May he add another victory to increase our Cambridge score, may Father Thames again behold the light blue to the fore. But the name of victory falls feebly on my ear, forgive me. 'Tis not cowardice that bids me shed this tear, I weep to think that 3 long years have looked on our defeat. For 3 long years we ne'er have known the taste of triumph sweet. O Father Cam! O Father Thames! O ye nymphs of Chiswick Eyot! O Triton! O Poseidon! Take some pity on our fate. What's the use of resolution, or of training, or of science, if anxious friends and relatives to our efforts bid defiance? If they take our strongest heroes from the middle of the boat, lest exposure to the weather should result in a sore throat? We've rowed our boat when wave on wave o'er ship and crew was dashing, and little were we troubled by the steamers and the splashing. Oh, little do the light blues care when tempests round them gather. We'll meet the raging of the skies, but not an angry father. For though our vessel sank, our hearts were buoyant as a feather, since we knew that we had done our best in spite of wind and weather. Then all ye gods and goddesses who rule o'er lake and river, oh, wipe away the trembling tear which in mine eye doth quiver. Oh, wipe away the dire defeats that now we often suffer. Let not the name of Cambridge blue be breathed with that of Duffer. Oh, melt the hearts of governors, for who can hope to thrive, if, when we're just together, they despoil us of our 5? And lastly, when mid shouts and cheers and screams and deafening dins, the 2 boats start upon their course. After the race. De mihi, Oxford wins. 1864. Lines by a Cambridge ancient mariner addressed to his university. Wish ye, sons of alma mater, long-lost laurels to replace? Listen to a stout old pater, once renowned in many a race. Now, alas! I'm fat and 40, and my form grows round to view, and my nose is rather porty, but my heart is still light blue. 'Tis as bad as an emetic, e'en my bocce I refuse, when I hear that sports athletic interfere with Cambridge crews. Once a Grecian runner famous scorned to fight his country's foes, and to Greece, as some to Camus, caused innumerable woes. When I hear the voice parental cry, "My youngster shall not row!" then my wrath is transcendental, then my words with vigor flow. Sires, with hearts of alabaster, your stern vetoes, yet you'll rue, when ye see a sixth disaster overwhelm your loved light blue. But whatever to Cambridge happen, sons of Cam behave like men. Rally round your royal cap'n, king of lake, and king of fen. Fortune helps the brave who court her, only to yourselves be true, and perhaps, on Putney's water, victory will crown light blue. When your coxswain cries, "All ready!" be alert, dismiss all napping, get well forward, all sit steady, grasp the oar, avoid all capping. Shoulders square, back straight, eyes ever fixed upon the back before, then all eight, with one endeavor, dip at once the bladed oar. Catch your stroke at the beginning, then let legs with vigor work, little hope has he of winning, who his stretcher loves to shirk. Let your rigid arms extended be as straight as pokers too, and until the stroke is ended, pull it, without jerking, through. Thus all disputation spurning, ye, ere many a year has passed, while old Fortune's wheel is turning, victory shall taste at last. Only wait and work together, trust in discipline and pluck, soon bad luck will run his tether, and good rowing bring good luck. 1866. The Sorrows of Father Cam. 1. Watney Lady Margaret. 5. Stevenson Trinity Hall 2. Beebe Lady Margaret. 6. Borthwick First Trinity. 3. Pigot Corpus 7. Griffiths Third Trinity. 4. Kinglake Third Trinity. 8. Lawes Third Trinity. Stirrer Archer Corpus. One night, as I silently wandered by Cam's slow meandering stream, and many things mentally pondered, I saw, as it were in a dream, a black head emerge from the billows, a broad body swim through the flood, till, beneath the o'ershadowing willows, it sank gently down in the mud. All alone, as a scholar of Tyrwhitt when examined in Hebrew he sits, on a log that mysterious spirit smokes in silence, and silently spits. And yet not alone sat the vision, there came, as he sat on his log, a wag of delight and submission from the tail of each demi-drowned dog. Black eels from his temples were hanging, his teeth were like teeth of a jack, his lips were inaudibly slanging, his eyes were all muddy and black, and water snakes, round his neck twining, were hissing, and water rats swam at his feet, so without much divining I recognized old Father Cam. "All hail to thee, Camus the Reedy!" I cried, in alarm and surprise. "Say, why are thy garments so weedy? And why are these tears in thine eyes?" Then the river god answered me sadly. "My glory aquatic is gone! My prospects, alas! look but badly, not a race for 4 years have I won. I have oarsmen as strong, even stronger, than when my first honors I bore, their arms are as long, perhaps longer, their shoulders as broad as of yore, yet the prospects of light blue look bluer. I am losing my swing, form and time, for who can row well in a sewer, or pull through miasma and slime?" Thus murmured the river god moaning, but I bade him to dry his old eye. In vain is this weeping and groaning, let your motto be, never say die. Though your waves be more foul than Cocytus, though your prospects, no doubt, are most blue, since Oxford is ready to fight us, we will try to select a good crew. My friend Lady Margaret tells me she can lend me a bow and a two. The lady, I own, sometimes sells me, but this time I am sure she'll be true. For Watney is wiry and plucky, and that Beebe's a one all allow, and our boat cannot fail to be lucky with a double first class in the bow. Then Corpus its Pigot shall lend us, young, healthy, and active, and strong, and Etona her Kinglake shall send us, to row our good vessel along, and 5 from the head of the river, like Pallas from Jove's head appearing, shall add to the weight of the quiver of the feather-weight Argonaut steering. Then Borthwick, the mighty and massive, shall row like a Briton at 6, and Griffiths, not prone to be passive, shall pull us to glory like bricks. Our stroke, people say, on the feather is a trifle too fond of a pause, but while some say, there's nothing like leather, I maintain there is nothing like laws. Washerwomen, not over-aquatic, says he rows like a mangle, what trash! That his swing and his time are erratic, that he puts in his oar with a splash. But these wonderful judges of rowing, if we win, will be loud in applause, and declare the result was all owing to that excellent stroke, Mr. Laws. Our coach, on the bank briskly riding, will keep his strong team well together, his Bucephalus gamely bestriding, in spite of the wind and the weather. For the laws of the land you may send me to counsel from chambers in town, for the laws of the river commend me to the chambers of Cambridge renown. Then cheer up, beloved Father Camus. Blow your nose. Dry those tears that are falling. You will live once again to be famous, in spite of the prospects appalling. Though dead dogs down your fair stream are floating, Father Cam will their odors defy. Though Oxford may beat us in boating, yet Cambridge will never say die. 1865. The Coming Boat Race. Oxford. Cambridge. 1 R.T. Rakes. 1 J. Still. 2 F. Crowder. 2 J. R. Selwyn. 3 W. Freeman. 3 J. A. Burke. 4 F. Willan. 4 J. Fortescue. 5 E. F. Henley. 5 D. F. Stevenson. 6 W. W. Wood. 6 R. A. Kinglake. 7 H. P. Senhouse. 7 H. Watney. 8 M. Brown. 8 W. R. Griffiths. Steerer C. R. W. Tottenham. Steerer A. Forbes. Attend, all ye who wish to see the names of each stout crew, who've come to town from cap and gown to fight for their favorite blue. Oxford. First Tottenham comes, a well-known name, that cattle-driving coxswain, who oft to victory has steered his gallant team of oxen. O'er Putney's course so well can he that team in safety goad, that we ought to call old Father Thames the Oxford-Tottenham road. Then comes the stroke, a mariner of merit and renown. Since dark blue are his colors, he can never be done brown. Ye who would at your leisure his heroic deeds peruse, go, read Tom Brown at Oxford by the other Tom, Tom Hughes. Next Senhouse, short for Senate House, but long enough for 7, shall to the A-towards ship impart a senatorial leaven. Then number 6, no truer word was ever said in joke, in keeping with his name of wood, has heart and limbs of oak. The voice of all aquatic men the praise of 5 proclaims, no finer sight can I delight than Henley upon Thames. Then number 4, who is heaver far than a number of Macmillan, though Willan's his name, may well exclaim, here I am, but I hain't a Willan. 1 Then Freeman rose at number 3, in a freer and manly style, no finer or was e'er produced by the Tiber, Thames, or Nile. Let politicians, if they please, rob Freeman of their vote, provided they leave Oxford men a freeman for their boat. Among the crowd of oarsmen proud no name will famed shout louder than his who sits at number 2, the straight and upright Crowder. Then rakes rose bow, and we must allow that with all the weight that's aft the bower gives a rakish air to the bows o' the dark blue craft. This is the crew, who've donned dark blue, and no stouter team of oxen has ploughed the waves of old Father Thames, or owned a better coxswain. Cambridge. Now don't refuse, aquatic muse, the glories to rehearse of the rival crew, who've donned light blue, to row for better for worse. They've lost their luck, but retained their pluck, and whatever their fate may be, light blue may meet one more defeat, but disgrace they ne'er will see. We've seen them row through sleet and snow till they sank. Mers's profundo, Horace, forgive me, pulchrior cami evit arundo. First little Forbes our praise absorbs, he comes from a learned college, so Cambridge hopes he will pull his ropes with scientific knowledge. May he shun the charge of swinging barge more straight than an archer's arrow, may he steer his 8, as he sits sedate in the stern of his vessel narrow. Then comes the stroke, with a heart of oak, who has stood to his flag like 20, while some stood aloof, and were not proof against dolce far niente. So let us pray that Griffiths may to the banks of Cam recall the swing and style, lost for a while, since the days of Jones and Hall. Then Watney comes, and a pluckier 7 ne'er rode in a Cambridge crew. His long straight swing is just the thing which an oarsman loves to view. Then comes Kinglake of a massive make, who in spite of failures past, like a sailor true, has nailed light blue as his colors to the mast. The consul Bolden days of old was thanked by the Patres hoary, when, in spite of luck, he displayed his pluck on the field of Kenny-Gorey. So whatever the fate of the Cambridge 8, let Cambridge men agree their voice to raise in their captain's praise with thrice and 3 times 3. Then number 5 is all alive, and for hard work always ready, as to and fro his broad back doth go, like a pendulum strong and steady. Then Fortescue doth pull it through without delay or dawdling. Right proud I trow as they see him row are the merry men of Magdalen. Then comes a name well known to fame, the great and gallant Burke, who ne'er was known fatigue to own, or neglect his share of work. New zeal and life to each new stroke stout Selwyn doth impart, and ever with fresh vigor, like Antaeus, forward start. Then last, but not the least of all, to row the boat along, they've got a bow whom all allow to be both still and strong. No crew can quail, or ever fail to labor with a will, when so much strength and spirits are supplied them by their still. We've done our task. To you who ask the probable result we more will speak, if you next week our prophet will consult. 1866. 1. C.F. Pickwick. Here I am, but I hain't a willin'. Fat Boy. A ballad. I cannot rest o' the night, mother, for my heart is cold and wan. I fear the return o' light, mother, since my own true love is gone. Oh, winsome I was his face, mother, and tender his bright blue eye, but his beauty and manly grace, mother, beneath the dark earth do lie. 2. They tell me that I am young, mother, that joy will return once more, but sorrow my heart has wrung, mother, and I feel the wound full sore. The tree at the root frostbitten will flourish never again, and the woe that my life hath smitten hath frozen each inmost vein. 3. Weener the moon's shining clear, mother, I think o' my lover that's gone. Heaven seemed to draw very near, mother, as above us in glory it shone. Ah! Whither hath fled all my gladness? Ah! Would from life I could fly, that laying me down in my sadness I might kiss thee, my mother, and die. An April squall. Breathless is the deep blue sky, breathless doth the blue sea lie, and scarcely can my heart believe, 'neath such a sky, on such a wave, that heaven can frown and billows rave, or beauty so divine deceive. Softly sail we with the tide, silently our bark doth glide, above our heads no clouds appear, only in the west afar a dark spot, like a baneful star, doth herald tempests dark and drear. And now the wind is heard to sigh, the waters heave unquietly, the heaven above is darkly scowling, down with the sail. They come, they come! Loose from the depths of their wintry home, the wild fiends of the storm are howling. Hold tight, and tug at the straining oar, for the wind is rising more and more. Row like a man through the dashing brine. Row on, already the squall is past, no more the sky is overcast, again the sun doth brightly shine. Oh! Higher far is the well-earned bliss of quiet after a storm like this than all the joys of selfish ease. 'Tis thus I would row o'er the sea of life, thus force my way through the roar and strife, and win repose by toils like these. Bedfordshire Ballad. The Two Maidens. The following verses were written for a country penny reading. 2 Bedfordshire maidens in one village dwelt. Side by side in their church every Sunday they knelt. They were not very pretty and not very plain, and their names were Eliza and Emily Jane. Now Carpenter Smith was young, steady and still, and wherever he went, worked and played with a will. To bed he went early, and early did rise, so, of course, he was healthy, and wealthy, and wise. But John he grew tired of a bachelor's life, so he looked all around him in search of a wife, and his eyes, as they wandered, again and again returned to Eliza and Emily Jane. And whenever those maidens encountered his eye, their pulses beat quickly. Perhaps you know why. They each of them thought him a wonderful don, and wished to be married to Carpenter John. But John, as you've heard, was a prudent young man, and determined their faults and their merits to scan. Says he, "If I marry, I'm tied for my life. So it's well to be cautious in choosing a wife." Now I'm sorry to say that young Emily Jane was disposed to be rather conceited and vain. In fact, for the truth I'm obliged to confess, was decidedly fond of extravagant dress. So she thought the best way to the carpenter's heart was to purchase gay dresses and finery smart. In the carrier's van off to Bedford she went, and many weeks' wages in finery spent. Her dress it was blue, and her ribbons were green, and her chignon the highest that ever was seen, and perched on the top, heavy laden with flowers, was a bonnet, embosomed in beautiful bowers. So red, as she walked to the church, was her shawl that the bull in the farmyard did bellow and bawl, and so high were her heels that on entering the door she slipped, and she stumbled, and fell on the floor. Says Carpenter Smith, "It's decidedly plain that I'd better keep clear of that Emily Jane." So from Emily Jane he averted his eye, and just at that moment Eliza passed by. Now Eliza had thought, "If his heart I subdue, it shall not be by dresses and finery new. For a lover who's taken by ornaments gay will love someone else ere a week pass away." So her ribbons were lilac, white straw was her bonnet, her dress was light gray, with dark braiding upon it, her jacket was black, and her boots of stout leather were fitted for walking in all sorts of weather. She was not very pretty, and yet in her smile there was something that charmed by its freedom from guile, and though lowly her lot, yet her natural grace made her look like a lady in figure and face. A rose from the garden she wore on her breast, and John, as her fingers he tenderly pressed, seemed to feel a sharp arrow, 'twas Cupid's first dart, come straight from the rosebud and enter his heart. Now John and Eliza are husband and wife, their quarrels are few, and contented their life. They eat and they drink and they dress in good taste, for their money they spend on their wants, not in waste. But I'm sorry to say that Miss Emily Jane has still an aversion to dress that is plain, and the consequence is that she always has stayed, and is likely to stay, a disconsolate maid. Moral. Young ladies, I hope you'll attend to my moral. When you hear it, I'm sure you and I shall not quarrel. If you're pretty, fine dress is not needed to show it. If you're ugly, fine dress will make all the world know it. Young men, if you wish, as I trust you all do, a partner for worse or for better to woo, don't marry a peacock dressed out in gay feathers, but a wife guaranteed to wear well in all weathers. Bedfordshire Ballad. 2. 1 glass of beer. Any quid nimis. Tom Smith was the son of a Bedfordshire man. The Smiths, we all know, are a numerous clan. He was happy and healthy and handsome and strong, and could sing on occasion a capital song. His father had once been a labourer poor, but had always contrived to keep want from the door, and by work and by thrift had enough in his pocket to rent a small farm from his landlord, and stock it. He died, Tom succeeded, the ladies all said it was high time he went to the church to be wed, and Sarah and Clara, and Fanny and Bess confessed if he offered, perhaps they'd say, yes. But Tom fixed his eyes on the miller's young daughter, and was only awaiting the right time to court her. So one day as he saw her walk out from the mill, he set off in pursuit with a very good will. Now Tom, I must tell you, had one little fault. He was rather too fond of a mixture of malt. In fact, if my meaning is not very clear, I'm afraid he was rather too partial to beer. Says Tom to himself as he followed the maid, I should like just a glass, for I'm rather afraid. No doubt at such times men are nervous and queer, so he stopped at the public for 1 glass of beer. He had his 1 glass, and then 2 or 3 more, and when he set out from the public-house door he saw a sad sight, and he saw it with groans, Mary and on the arm of Theophilus Jones. Yes, Theophilus Jones was a steady young man, who enjoyed but was never too fond of his can, and while Smith in the public was stopping to swill, Jones had wooed and had won the fair maid of the mill. Tom homeward returned like a runaway pup, when the lash of the whipper-in touches him up, and he sighed to himself, It's most painfully clear that I've lost a good wife for a bad glass of beer. At length he was married to Emily Brown, a tidier girl there was none in the town. The church bells were ringing, the village was gay, as Tom met his bride in her bridal array. For a 12-month or more things went on pretty straight. Tom went early to work, and was never home late. But after that time a sad change, it would seem, came over the spirit of Emily's dream. The rector missed Tom from his place in the choir. In the evening his wife sat alone by the fire. When her husband came home he was never too early, and his manner was dull, and at times even surly. He was late in the autumn in sowing his wheat. His bullocks and sheep had disease of the feet. His sows had small litters. His taters went bad, and he took just a glass when he felt rather sad. The rector's, good lady, was passing one day, and looked in, her usual visit to pay. "How do you do, Mrs. Smith? Is the baby quite well? Have you got any eggs or young chickens to sell?" But Emily Smith couldn't answer a word. At length her reply indistinctly was heard. "I'm all of a mullock one, it's no use denying." And with that the poor woman she burst out a-crying. Then after a time with her apron she dried the tears from her eyes, and more calmly replied, "I don't mind confessing the truth, ma'am, to you, for I've found in you always a comfort true. Things are going to ruin, the land's full o' twitch, there's no one to clean out a drain or a ditch, the gates are all broken, the fences all down, and the state of our farm is the talk of the town. We've lost a young horse, and another's gone lame, our hay's not worth carting, the wheat's much the same, our pigs and our cattle are always astray, our milk's good for nothing, our hens never lay. Tom ain't a bad husband, as husbands do go, that ain't saying much, as I dare say you know, but there's one thing that puts him and me out o' gear, he's always a craving for one glass of beer. He never gets drunk, but he's always half fuddled, he wastes all his time, and his wits are all muddled. We've notice to quit for next Michaelmas year, all owing to Tom and his one glass of beer. Moral. My friends, I believe we shall none of us quarrel if I try from this story to draw out a moral. Tom Smith, I am told, has now taken the pledge. Let us hope he will keep the right side of the hedge. But because men like Tom find it hard to refrain, it's hard that we temperate folks should abstain. Tea and coffee no doubt are most excellent cheer, but a hard-working man likes his one glass of beer. What with chining, too, and hoeing and ploughing and drill, a glass of good beer will not make a man ill. But one glass, like poison, you never must touch, it's the glass which is commonly called one too much. 1. Muddle. 2. Machining, i.e. threshing by machinery. Bedfordshire Ballad. 3. Fred and Bill. 2 twins were once born in a Bedfordshire home. Such events in the best managed households may come, though, as Tompkins remarked in a voice rather gruff, one child at a time for poor folks is enough. But it couldn't be helped, so his wife did her best. The children were always respectably dressed, went early to school, were put early to bed, and had plenty of taters and bacon and bread. Now we all should suppose that the two, being twins, resembled each other as much as 2 pins. But no, they as little resembled each other as the man in the moon is. A man and a brother. Fred's eyes were dark brown, and his hair was jet black. He was supple in body, and straight in the back, learned his lessons without any trouble at all, and was lively, intelligent, comely, and tall. But Willie was thick-set, and freckled and fair, had eyes of light blue, and short curly red hair, and, as I should like you the whole truth to know, the schoolmaster thought him decidedly slow. But the parson, who often came into the school, had discovered that Willie was far from a fool, and that though he was not very quick in his pace, in the end, slow and steady, would win in the race. Years passed. Fred grew idle and peevish and queer, took to skittles, bad language, tobacco, and beer, grew tired of his work when it scarce was begun, was jack of all trades and the master of none. He began as a laborer, then was a clerk, drove a hansom in London by way of a lark, enlisted, deserted, and finally fled abroad, and was thought by his friends to be dead. But Willie meanwhile was content with his lot. He was slow, but he always was found on the spot. He wasted no money on skittles and ale, but put by his pence, when he could, without fail. To the penny bank weekly his savings he took, and soon had a pretty round sum in his book. No miser was he, but he thought it sound sense in the days of his youth to put by a few pence. And so he got on. He was no millionaire, but he always had money enough and to spare, could help a poor friend, pay his rent and his rate, and always put silver at church in the plate. His brother, meantime, who was thought to be dead, had across the Atlantic to Canada fled, then had gone to New York, then New Zealand had tried, but always had failed through perverseness and pride. He might have done well, but wherever he went, as soon as his money came in, it was spent. As of old he tried all trades, and prospered in none, for he thought that hard work was a poor sort of fun. Then he heard of the diggings, and there tried his luck. He was never deficient in smartness and pluck, and by means of some work, and more luck, in a year he managed to make £1,500 clear. Then he thought of old England and Bedfordshire chums, so back to his parish in triumph he comes, and need I remark he found many a friend right willing to help him his nuggets to spend? He turned up his nose at his poor brother Bill, who was always content to be plodding uphill. Hard work he disliked, he despised peace and quiet, so he spent all his time and his money in riot. There was never a horse race but Fred he was there. He went to each meeting, marker and fair. In a few words, his candle he burned to the socket, till he found one fine day not a rap in his pocket. Then his poor brother Bill came and lent him a hand, gave him work and a share of his own bit of land. If he means to keep steady I cannot surmise. Let us hope that at length Fred has learnt to be wise. But one thing is plain, if you mean to get on, you will find that success must by patience be won. In the battle of life do not trust to your luck, but to honest hard work, perseverance, and pluck. Don't turn up your nose at a hard-working chap, for pride soon or later must meet with mishap, and wherever your lot in the world may be cast, slow and steady goes safer than foolish and fast. Take warning by Fred, and avoid for a friend the man who would tempt you your savings to spend. Don't waste your spare money in riotous pranks, but put it in penny or post office banks. Bedfordshire Ballad. For Home, Sweet Home. I'm a Bedfordshire chap, and Bill Stumps is my name, and to tell it don't give me no manner of shame, for a man as works honest and hard for his livin', when he tells you his name, needn't feel no misgivin'. And works is what I live by. At dawn o' the day, while some folks is snorin', I'm up and away. When I stops for my bave or one, 'twould do your heart good, to see how I relish the taste o' my food. I'm fond o' my hoein', and pluffin', and drill, and my hosses all knows me and works with a will. I'm fond o' my cheening, and thackin' and drainin', for when work's to be done, 'tain't no use a complainin'. I whistles a tune if the mornin's be dark. When I goes home o' nights, I sings sweet as a lark, and you'll travel some distance afore you can find a chap more contented and happy in mind. And I'll tell you the reason, I've got a good wife, the joy o' my heart, and the pride o' my life. She ain't made o' gold, nor ain't much of a beauty, but she's allers a tryin' to do of her duty. And a tidier home there ain't none in the town than mine and my Polly's. I'll lay you a crown. If it ain't quite a palace, I'm sure 'tis as clean, and I'm king o' my cottage, and Polly's the queen. But things wasn't allers as lively as now. There's 30 good years since I fust went to plough. I wore then but a lad, and a bad un, I fear, just a trifle too partial to bocce and beer. So my maester he very soon gone me the sack, and my faither he gone me the stick to my back. But I cared for his bangance and blows not a rap. I wore sich a queer unaccountable chap. To make a long story as short as I can, when I'd done as a boy, I became a young man, and, as happens to most men at that time o' life, I asked a young woman if she'd be my wife. And Poll she consented. Oh, how my heart beat, when she gone me her hand, smilin' wonderful sweet. I could hear my heart beatin', just like a church bell, till I thought as my waistcoat ud bust pretty well. But warn't I main happy, and well nigh crazy, when I heard her say, yes, blushin' sweet as a daisy. We was axed in the church, no one dared to say nay, so the rector he spliced us, one fine summer day. My Poll wore a steady young gal, and a good un for washin' and scrubbin', and makin' a puttin', not one o' them gossiping gals, what I hate, but a coitish woman, why brains in her pate. But somehow or other things didn't go right. There wasn't atwixt us no manner o' spite, but I stayed out o' Saturdays nights, and I fear spent more nor I'd ought on my bocce and beer. And Poll she looked sadly, but didn't say naught. She was one as ud allers say less than she thought, but I knowed what she thought, so a cloud kind o' come, and darkened the sun as once shone in our home. But it come to a pass. 'Twas the 5th o' November, the day and the year I shall allers remember. 'Twas midnight and past when I come to my door, scarce able to stand. Well, I won't say no more. Next mornin' my head it wore well nigh a split in, and I staggered and staggered, as weak as a kitten. But the wust of it all wore the dressin' I got from Polly. Oh, warn't it main spicy and hot? What she said I won't tell you, but you married men, as knows what it is to be pecked by a hen. What I means you're to guess pretty plain as you'll find, when I tells you she gone me a bit of her mind. And now I'm as sober can be, and me and my pole, as we sits down to tea, don't care very far of an evening to roam, we're allers so jolly contented at home. I wears no blue ribbon outside o' my coat, for a pint o' good ale seems to freshen my throat. But offer me more and I'm bound to refuse it, for my pole's got a tongue, and her knows how to use it. So I takes just a pint, when there's coppers to spare, a pint why your dinner ain't no great affair, but the time o' the day as suits Polly and me, is when we sits down of an evenin' to tea. For the young UNS sits round us all smilin' and clean, and Sally knits stockings what's fit for the Queen. Little Bill reads a book, and Jemima she sews, and how happy our home is the parish all knows. Now young men and maids, if ye'll listen to me, I'll give you some counsel all gratis and free. Young men, if you want to be happy in life, remember Bill Stumps, and look out for a wife. Not one o' them hussies as gossips and chatters, and is allers mindin' of other folks' matters, but one as you'll work, and be gentle and kind, and as knows when to giu a bit of her mind. Young maids who are willing young wives to become, remember, the sweetest of places is home. But remember, no husband you'll find his home sweet, if it ain't bright and cheerful, and tidy and neat. If all's of a mullock and dirty and dusty, when he pops home to dinner, he'll turn rather crusty. But be tidy, and careful in cookin' his grub, and I'll bet what you like, he won't go to the pub. So send off the young uns to school afore 9, and when they in faither come home for to dine, don't gim cold taters and bacon half fried, but a meal as you'll cheer 'em and warm their inside. And don't let the children go roamin' o' night, but keep 'em at home for their faither's delight. And I hope you may all be as happy and jolly, in your Bedfordshire homes, as Bill Stumps and his Polly. 1 Bedfordshire for luncheon. Finus. End of Project Gutenberg Sagittulae, Random Verses, by E. W. Bowling.